kill my son.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. You are watching breaking news along with us out in Fairfax County, Virginia, in the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard case. The verdict is in, and we are going to hear that verdict read into the record at 3 o'clock Eastern today. Our teams are standing by there in Fairfax County, Virginia at the courthouse, and any movement that happens inside of the courtroom, we will bring it to you live. This is a case that took over 100 hours of testimony in front of the jury. It's one that took 6 weeks, and now after 3 days and 12 hours worth of deliberations from this jury of 7, they have reached their decision. Let's take a look back at this case and how we got here to this point.
Pirates.
Johnny Depp, the star of such blockbuster franchises like Pirates of the Caribbean.
I'm so sorry, were you still talking?
Was one of Hollywood's highest paid actors, commanding tens of millions per film.
He's exactly what you want to be if you want to be a Hollywood A-lister.
Elizabeth Wagmeister is chief correspondent at Variety magazine.
You want to be family friendly, you want to be taken seriously by the industry, and you want to have a bit of sex appeal when it comes to your personal brand. But of course, this entire trial really changed the whole face of Johnny Depp's reputation.
The trial, Depp versus Amber Heard. This once married couple has been feuding since they split in 2016, and the drama has spilled into courts in the U.S. and overseas. Here in Fairfax, Virginia, the two square off in this courthouse. Depp is suing his ex-wife Amber Heard for defamation. He claims she damaged his reputation when she wrote about domestic abuse in this op-ed that appeared in the Washington Post in December 2018. Depp wasn't named in the article, but he claims in his lawsuit that the article implied he abused her. And as a result, he has lost movie roles and faced public scorn.
Any defamation case has a difficult road to hoe, but in this one, I think it has a particularly difficult chance of success.
George Freeman was in-house counsel at the New York Times for more than 30 years and is now executive director of the Media Law Resource Center.
The first defense really is the most basic defense in libel law, which is truth.
In order for Depp to win, he not only has to prove that the allegations are false, but that Heard acted with malice or intentionally lied about the alleged abuse.
So he really has to prove that she made it up out of whole cloth. And I think that's a stretch to ask a jury with all the evidence that exists, to ask a jury to believe that she made it up and she wasn't abused at all is a very, very hard burden to meet.
Depp has already lost a similar libel case in London. He sued The Sun for calling him a, quote, wife beater. A judge there found that the newspaper had proved the article was substantially true. But the U.S. trial will be different. A jury will decide the case, not a judge, and his appeal among fans could be a factor.
He knows that he has a large fan base, even throughout this entire legal battle. So Johnny Depp could also feel empowered by knowing that he does still have a fan base behind him.
Depp's case is unusual for another reason, according to Freeman.
Johnny Depp sued Amber Heard in this case, but not the Washington Post. Generally speaking, in 9 out of 10 cases, in a libel case, you sue the media that publishes as well as the person who's making the accusation. Yet he never sued the Washington Post in this case, which leads to the conclusion that this is really, in the end, a marital fight that has now grown into the American court system.
That was a look back at this case, Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. If you're just joining us, we have a verdict in that case, and it's going to be read on the record there in Fairfax County, Virginia at 3 o'clock. We are standing by to bring you whatever happens inside of that courtroom live. I want to bring in our two guests who have been with us following this, Dr. Petler and Vonda Sargent. Also want to read a note, a statement that we have gotten from a source close to Johnny Depp about his whereabouts, confirming that due to previously scheduled work commitments made before the trial, Mr. Depp will not be physically present for today's 3 p.m. verdict and will be watching from the United Kingdom. It's what we suspected, knowing that he was in concert yesterday, and it's even been widely reported that Kate Moss, his ex-girlfriend, was there with him at that concert. Dr. Petler, I want to ask you very quickly, and I'll ask Vonda Sargent this next as well. Regardless of the outcome in this case, what do you want people to take away from this case? We have about 10 seconds.
I simply want people to be aware that the conversation regarding IPV needs to continue, and us as a country need to unite to protect people and to keep everybody safe.
Vonda Sargent, same question, about 10 seconds as well.
I would agree. I think that we need to continue to talk about domestic violence. I think we need to believe victims regardless of their gender, regardless of their race, regardless of their socioeconomic status. When people say they're being hurt, I think we need to believe them.
Absolutely. Thank you both for your insights. We have to step aside. We're reaching the bottom of the hour. Judge Ashley is going to take place here on the steps. Judge Ashley, thanks.
All right.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, Julia Janae. Thank you so much. What excellent coverage. Listen, we have a verdict. It's breaking news. It's big news. 3 statements for each side that this jury had to consider. A long verdict form. What have they done? Stay with us. All your continuing coverage here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice. Breaking news in the Depp defamation trial. We have a verdict. It will be announced today at 3 p.m. Eastern, just 1 hour from now. Of course, Court TV cameras will take you live into the courtroom for the jury's decision. We have a live report from Fairfax, Virginia in just a moment. And throughout this hour, we are discussing how likely it is that Johnny Depp committed at least one act of domestic violence.
I remember he chest bumped me in this like bro-y way. Johnny had already grabbed Amber by the hair with one hand and was whacking her repeatedly in the face.
She had pretty significant visible facial injuries.
Did something happen to you, Corey? I don't think so.
Occasionally I'd see bruising, cut lips, split lips.
Next move, if I don't walk away, it's just gonna be a bloodbath.
Johnny Depp may be winning in the court of public opinion, but he could easily lose this defamation case. The beloved actor waved to an adoring gallery after testimony concluded last week, but victory is far from assured. If the jurors believe that he abused Amber Heard just once, she wins. Our legal experts are standing by for all of our expert analysis coming up. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Judge Ashley Wilcott, honored to be with you this Wednesday afternoon, where we are beginning with our breaking news live to Fairfax, Virginia, where Court TV's own lead anchor Vinnie Politan and Chanley Painter are outside the courthouse. All right, both of you, huge news, this verdict at 3 o'clock. Chanley, let me start with you, if I could, please. Tell us the latest of what's happening at the courthouse, given we now know the jury has reached a verdict.
Right, excitement at an all-time high. We've been waiting 12 hours, right, Vinnie, for this verdict. To my right, to my left, we have camera after camera after camera, media from all over the world here, Ashley, to cover this verdict. There's a media gaggle to my left with cameras waiting for any reaction. So once the verdict is read at 3 o'clock Eastern this afternoon, inside the courthouse behind us, we expect that either side, either Depp or Heard's team, or even maybe the jurors, Vinnie, would want to say anything. They're going to come directly outside here. Our cameras are set up, ready to go, and for all the others, they're making their way inside that courtroom to watch this verdict.
All right, Vinnie, you know, all the trials you've covered, all the trials that I'm familiar with as a former judge, you never really know what a jury's going to do. I believe in our jury system. They deliberate, they pay attention, they come out with the right outcome based on the evidence they've heard. But knowing we really can't predict what the jury's going to do, how does either outcome affect not just this trial and the parties, but everyone who's been watching this?
Well, I think it's a huge verdict in many respects because of the investment, right? First, you've got behind us in the courtroom, in the courthouse, the investment of the parties, the investment of the attorneys who have put so much time, and the investment of the jury to speak the truth about what happened in this relationship. Then you've got the incredible investment of the public who has watched this play out. They all have opinions, strong opinions, but it's not just about this case. It's about defamation. It's about domestic abuse. It's about the rights of accusers, the rights of those who believe they've been wrongly accused. So there's really a lot at stake here. And as we sit here after 12 hours of deliberations after a 6-week trial, I would say this tends to be on the quicker side. This was not a long deliberation by any means. I would say it was a little bit quick. Who does that favor in this moment? Who would perhaps be able to reach this jury quicker with what they want to say? And it's tough. If this jury approached the case in terms of he said, she said, who do I believe? I believe him or I believe her, and that's who's going to win this case. I think that's advantage Johnny in a quick deliberation. But if they're looking and going through this verdict form and going through how difficult it is for either side to prove defamation in the United States of America involving a public figure, then it could be advantage nobody wins, that there's not defamation on either side. So as I sit here, those are the two things going through my mind at this time. It depends, from my perspective, how they approached this deliberation. But the bottom line, it came quick.
Right, and I know, Vinny, you were on with me yesterday and describing in criminal trials the Politan theorem, and really you predicted tomorrow is when this jury might come back. Let's break it down a little bit more to all of the great points that you just made, and that is talking about the verdict form, because Chanley, this jury had verdict forms where they had 3 statements on each side to consider, and let's look at all the possibilities with you both, if I could please, and that is, it could be that they come back and say, based on the verdict, based on the 3 statements for each side, that both lied about the other, and therefore they're both guilty of defamation. Or in the alternative, they might say, oh, nope, neither of you lied. We find everything was true, and as a result, you both lose. I mean, how many different options are there before this jury, Chanley?
There are several options. You're correct. This is an 8-page verdict form. 3 statements at issue for Johnny Depp that he says were a part of that 2018 Washington Post op-ed that Amber Heard defamed him, defamation by implication. So 3 statements there. Then 3 statements that Amber Heard countersued Depp for regarding statements his attorney, his agent, Adam Waldman, made against Amber Heard. So they had to, for each of these statements, run through, Vinny, hold it up for us, Vinny. We have 7 different subparts of the elements of defamation that this jury had to come to a unanimous yes or no for each of those subparts. If all of those subparts, Ashley, for each of those statements was a yes, then and only then would this jury move to consider damages for defamation. So there's so many different ways that this verdict, or verdicts, if we want to call them, Vinny, could go. They could find in favor for only one of those 3 statements for Johnny Depp, right, Vinny? Or one of the statements for Amber Heard, or none of the statements at all, or all of the statements.
Yeah, I think the most surprising verdict, from my perspective, would be an all-out win for either side.
Right.
Johnny Depp wins, gets $50 million. Amber Heard wins, gets $100 million. To me, that would surprise me. It could happen. It absolutely could happen, either one. But to me, that would be the most surprising. To me, the most likely verdict is some form of a compromise, a punt. Either you find liability, but there's no damages, or you find no liability on either side. So there's a wide array, many different ways this jury can go about it. But the fact that they've been out for 12 hours, Ashley, tells me that there wasn't a ton of fighting inside that jury room. A little less room or time needed for compromise. It seems like this is where you could go through this in 12 hours and answer the questions and not have those big fights, breakdowns where we've got to say, okay, I'll give you claim 1 if you give me claim 2, or I'll go with the claim, but we're not giving any damages. I think they agreed. I think these 7 people agreed. I don't think this is going to necessarily be a compromise verdict because of the nature of it coming out after just 12 hours.
Absolutely. And they took a shorter lunch today, Vinny. That probably meant that they had it ready to go. They took a short lunch, and then, of course, we get the announcement that they reached.
I've seen it so many times where they reach the verdict before lunch, get that last meal in, just a little bit of time. Let's just think about it. Okay, they come back after lunch, and then shortly thereafter, they make the announcement that they've reached a verdict, which is exactly what happened today. And they asked for the shorter lunch today.
They did.
Like, if you're in the middle of a battle, you're going to want a longer lunch, Ashley.
I agree. I just had to say, Vinny, that's what I thought. When you all said it was a shorter lunch, I thought, uh-oh, this means they're close to a verdict. So many options, 12 hours. We know that they've been deliberating before they reached a decision, that decision coming at 3 o'clock today. And I have to say this, too. When you talk about damages, I would agree with you. Everybody said it's really not about the money. It's restoring reputations. It's making them employable in Hollywood. And $50 million, $100 million, let's be honest, that's not even real money to a lot of people. Most people cannot imagine what it would be like to have that kind of money. So I think, too, it's unlikely that this jury is going to say either side gets that. The reality is, I think I had this image as soon as I heard there was a verdict and it was announced with Julia Janae. I thought, oh, I wonder if everybody's running to the courthouse to see, is Amber Heard there? What's it like? Can we get wristbands? Let's get in the courthouse. Has that happened? Let me start with you, if I could, Vinny.
Well, what's interesting about this trial is really the story of 2 trials. During the case, the evidence, the testimony, Court TV was here, of course, gavel-to-gavel, but there was a sprinkling of media organizations here, but there were tons of real people. A lot of them Johnny Depp fans, obviously. Others who saw what Court TV was doing and decided to come down to the courthouse to see it themselves in person. Then it came to jury deliberations, and it changed. There's no more testimony in the courtroom. There's just the moment of the verdict. Then all of a sudden, the media multiplies like tenfold here outside the courthouse, and the number of people reduced. And let's be honest, they're reduced because somebody's not here. And it wasn't that they were worried if I was going to be here. No, it's a man named Johnny Depp who he's not going to be here, right?
He's not going to be here. His spokesperson did release an official statement saying due to his previously scheduled work obligations in the UK, aka Jeff Beck tour, he won't be here for the reading of the verdict at 3 o'clock. So that is confirmed.
What do you all think of that?
That's still what we're hearing, that Amber Heard should be in that courtroom.
Okay, so Chanley, that was the second part, and I didn't mean to interrupt, but just to get viewers an idea of what you're expecting there. And what do you both think of the fact that you've got two parties who have invested 6 weeks of, to your point earlier, Vinny, time, their time, attorney's time, court time, jury time, staff time, people's time, viewers' time, spectators there in person time, and yet we're hearing that at least one party is not going to be in the courtroom for the verdict. What do you all think of that?
I'll start. I don't think it affects the verdict at all, right? It doesn't affect the ending. I think what it affects is the public's perception of what this was all about. I think it's a dangerous move by Johnny Depp, because this trial was about getting his name back. His fans will love him no matter what. It's the people in between, right? It's the people who watched the trial and maybe believed in his case, but are like, well, why did you bring this case? Why are you not here for the verdict? Why are you not here to, look at the jury or hear the jury tell the world what they believe happened in your relationship? So I think that's the only risk for Johnny Depp, is something beyond the legal part of all of this. And his fans understand that he was scheduled to perform, all of that. I get it. The fans will never turn away from Johnny Depp. But I think it's the people in the middle who will wonder, well, what was Johnny Depp's real plan here? Why did he bring this lawsuit? And if you brought the lawsuit, why wouldn't you be here at the end?
Yeah, there was actually a statement from a spokesperson of Amber Heard who really called out Johnny Depp for not being here in person, saying your presence shows where your priorities are. Johnny Depp plays guitar in the UK while Amber Heard waits for a verdict in Virginia. Depp taking his snickering and lack of seriousness on tour, so firing at Johnny Depp's obligation and not being here in person.
Wow. So one last question for both of you, and that is involving all the people who have been there day after day to get a wristband, to get into the courtroom when Johnny Depp was there, Amber Heard was there. From all accounts, most of them, quite frankly, were Johnny Depp supporters. And so do you think, if this is a verdict for Amber Heard, if that's what this jury has decided after hearing all the evidence, will that verdict be enough to sway viewers, the public, and Hollywood to give her another chance? Vinny, if I could start with you.
It depends what you mean when it's a verdict for Amber Heard. Do you mean she wins the defense of the lawsuit that Johnny Depp brought, or she wins her lawsuit against Johnny Depp? Because I think those are two different scenarios. If Johnny Depp doesn't prove his case against Amber Heard and she sort of wins like that claim by not losing, I don't think it impacts either one of them, because I think you can look at it and say, well, defamation in the United States, virtually impossible to win a defamation case. But if she actually wins her counterclaim against Johnny Depp, I think that's a different scenario, and I think people will take a second look at Amber Heard, those who aren't Johnny Depp fans, those who are just kind of in the middle, and think again about what happened inside this courtroom, and maybe will want to hear from that jury who sat in there and listened to every single word that was spoken and saw every piece of evidence.
Chandler, your last thoughts, please.
What'd you say?
Your last thoughts.
Oh, last thoughts. Sorry, my earpiece is not cooperating with you, Ashley, but yes, this is much anticipated. This morning, we see fewer crowds, only 26 wristbands handed out, so the gallery shouldn't be as packed as what we've seen when Johnny Depp was here. And possibly Johnny Depp is just trusting the court of law, the system. He's done his diligence. His testimony on the stand, Vinny, was he doesn't care about the money here. He just wanted to be on the stand, tell his side of the story. So we'll see what ultimately is the outcome for both sides after this verdict is rendered.
Absolutely. They have both presented their version of the stories as they believe it to be true, or they want the jury to believe it. What's the jury going to do? Vinnie Politan, Chanley Painter, thanks to both of you. I know you're going to stay there live. We are, of course, counting down to the verdict being read in court. Until then, we'll look at the domestic abuse claims against Johnny Depp. Stay tuned.
And give Lumi a try today.
Mr. Depp, is this the version of the op-ed that you recognize?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was your reaction when you saw it?
Shock. A blinding hurt. It was like somebody hit me in the back of the head with a 2x4. And this was the opportunity where I thought, something's got to be done. I couldn't take it anymore.
Huge news. The jury has come back with a verdict. We expect that to be read at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Court TV cameras have been in that courtroom for the entire trial. And of course, we're going to take you there live as soon as the jury returns to that courtroom. Meanwhile, we're going to take a deep dive into the alleged abuse from Johnny Depp against Amber Heard. Now, during closing arguments, Heard's attorney, Benjamin Rottenborn, underscored just how thin the margin of victory was for Depp.
If Amber was abused by Mr. Depp even one time, then she wins. One time.
One of the big accusations from Amber Heard is that Johnny Depp physically slapped and kicked her on a plane. Let's listen to some of her testimony and talk about it on the other side.
And I slowly get up and move to the front of the plane, and he starts throwing things at me. Ice cubes, utensils. He's calling me a go-getter and then an embarrassment, talking about what an embarrassment I am. I don't know how many times I moved seats. I wish I did. I remember moving more than once, and Johnny came to me each time, not the other way around. He sits down in front of me at one point, and because I'm not answering him, I was looking out of the window, and he slaps my face. And his friend is in our proximity. And it didn't hurt my face. It just felt embarrassed that he would do that to me in front of people. It was the first time that anything like that had happened in front of somebody. I am walking away from him slowly, and he tells me to hurry the f*** up. Hurry up. And I just look at him one more time, wanting to penetrate the monster to see the man that I love underneath that. The man I loved. And he tells me to hurry up again. And I pull my gaze away from him. I walk away from him. My back is turned to him, and I feel this boot in my back. He just kicked me in the back. And I fell to the floor. I caught myself on the floor, and I just felt like I was looking at the floor of the plane felt like a long time. And I thought to myself, I don't know what to do. I can't believe did he just kick me?
I'd like to welcome now live in our studio criminal defense attorney Josh Schiffer, and in St. Paul, Minnesota, Jack Rice, criminal defense attorney as well. You know I love having you both on together because we do have fun in spite of, or sometimes because of, the serious allegations underlying this lawsuit. So disclaimer, we know serious allegations, physical abuse. So my first question is, if the jury chooses to believe Amber Heard's testimony that this physical altercation on an airplane happened, does that mean that Johnny Depp loses his defamation lawsuit against Amber Heard? Let me start with you, Josh, please, sir.
It was just like it was mentioned in the closing argument. Yes, if she has her truth, if he committed a violent act against her, then truth is her ultimate defense. And she's allowed to tell her truth to the whole world if she wants. And that also leads to my belief, following up on what Vinny was just talking about, this jury's back kind of quick. Looks like they were really thinking about stuff, and that leads me to believe that the defense presented by Amber Heard gave them a hook to hang their hat.
Wow, so what do you think, Jack? Let me start first with the fact, 12 hours of deliberation, we know they have a verdict. What's your reaction to that?
That's fast. I think this is a visceral gut check by the jury. They're looking at this. They could have gone through every question. They could have gone through the 7 subparts. It takes a very long time, plus a mountain of evidence. And then they could have weighed it, and then they could have compared it back and forth and said, okay, we've got 3 on this side, 4 on that side. The thing is I don't think they did that. I think what they did is they all looked at each other and they said, what do you think? How do you feel about this? This is a visceral question. And in the end, as Josh just put this, what I really think is going on here is that this jury, this jury is feeling what the answer is. And if what they did was believe what she said, because it's all about what? Credibility. If they believed what she said, she will prevail in this case.
And I think, too, when you talk about that visceral reaction, that's what the public's done. And you can see on social media, I love our viewers because they're honest. They'll tell me what they think. If it offends me or not, they don't care. And I like that, right? Because it gives their honest reaction. And the reality is, I think people feel like Johnny Depp is right and Amber Heard is wrong. Do you think that means, Josh, that they're going to fine for Johnny Depp?
Well, I think the court of public opinion is, but I think that the jury is asking a totally different question than the general public and our viewers and our fans and everybody else. They want to cast blame for who did something wrong. And in this case, there's a lot of wrongdoing, kind of to be spread around, but that's not the question that the court is asking. The question the court is asking is whether Amber violated and harmed Johnny Depp by writing this op-ed because it's false. And she is standing behind her truth. And I think just like Jack was talking about, 12 hours seems like a long time. It's not with 6 weeks of evidence. That's an enormous amount of work just to organize, sit down, and then put together a jury, people that have never done this before deciding how to set up a system to work as a jury. It's not an instruction book necessarily.
And, you know, I do have just one of the special verdict forms, and Chanley and Vinny both had them there probably to fill them out like I'm going to as it's read in court. But it's one is lengthy. It's not one little page. It's 7 questions for each thing they have to answer. If they're all yeses, then they have to get to damages. All right, Jack, help viewers and myself break down again, if one statement, if one incident the jury finds to be true, does that mean that that side loses, or the other side rather, loses on all of the defamation allegations?
Let's think of it very simply. There is one absolute defense in this case, and that absolute defense for Amber Heard is truth. So in other words, if Amber Heard said what she said and the jury believed her, I'm not talking about every single incident. They don't need every single incident. If they believe that just the one time in the airplane that he put his boot to the back of her and kicked her to the ground, that singular incident is enough. And so the standard is actually very difficult for Johnny Depp. I understand we see this as somewhat of a horse race. It's not actually a horse race. It's something fundamentally different. And that's when we talk about what the law is. But if I might, here's the other twist to this whole thing. One of the things that I've seen, and this is just my experience after doing dozens and dozens and dozens of jury trials, is that a lot of people want to believe that they look at this intellectually. They'll look at each piece of evidence and they'll weigh it one piece at a time and compare it to the others and look at credibility, and they're all putting this into some sort of a computer system and then out spits the answer. That's not how I think they do this. I think after 6 weeks, what you're going to have is 7 people who saw this, who will all have a visceral response. They may come back after that visceral response and intellectualize their answer. But I think in the end, they're going to say, who deserves this? And the problem is they may just say neither of them.
Right.
Or both of them, which would mean a buck each.
Right, that's what I keep saying, a buck each or 0. I think one of those two is what we're looking at, but we'll have to wait and see. I do have to mention, the judge, of course, when she read the instructions to the jury right before they went to deliberation, said, I advise you not to do a straw poll, that this is not one where you all say, this is how I feel, this is what we should do, and then go from there, but rather look at all the evidence. But you're right, Jack, the juries often do exactly what you just described. We have to take a break, but I want to mention this. Domestic violence, as we know, is not only physical abuse. So we're going to look at some of the other types of abuse alleged in this defamation suit. Next, we'll talk about mutual abuse. On the wait, 3 p.m. is where we expect this verdict to come in. We will take you there live, and you can catch highlights of the Depp Heard trial right here on Court TV and on our YouTube channel. All the pivotal moments that you may have missed are posted there.
Mr. Depp threw a wine bottle across the room.
He comes up behind me, strikes me in the back, kind of just somewhere over here. He strikes me in the back.
You got this going? You got this going?
Just started it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really?
Washed up piece. Washed up piece.
Week prior, after you beat out of me.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Judge Ashley Wilcott, honored to be with you this Wednesday afternoon where we do have breaking news. Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, a dual defamation trial that's lasted for 6 weeks. The jury deliberating for 12 plus hours. They've reached verdicts in this case. It's not just one, it's multiple. Still with us to talk about this, we have criminal defense attorneys Josh Schiffer and Jack Rice. Vinny Politan, lead anchor for Court TV. They are in Fairfax, Virginia with us as well. Vinny, of course I want to start with you. I told you earlier, I envision this stampede of people running to the courtroom to get inside before the 3 p.m. verdict. Is that happening?
This is what we understand right now is happening. Amber should be arriving in about 4 minutes. So I think there's a camera set up back there. So that should be happening momentarily. Amber Heard will be here at the courthouse. We do not expect Johnny Depp to be here, but Amber Heard will be here for the reading of the verdict. Very dramatic moment. I do see some cameras moving that way right now. The driver, the man who drove Johnny Depp throughout the course of the trial, just parked his car here, brought some umbrellas in because there's a little bit of precipitation in the air, a little bit of a storm in the air in Fairfax, Virginia right now. So there could be some rain. He brought umbrellas inside. I believe that will be for Johnny Depp's team when they exit the courthouse from the doors behind me. In case it's raining, they've got cover. So hopefully they'll answer some questions, perhaps give a statement afterwards, and perhaps relay a statement from Johnny Depp once they get word on what the jury says here. But that's what's happening right now. Everyone's anticipating Amber Heard showing up, and then everyone gathering inside that courtroom because we're 25 minutes away from when Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, their attorneys, and the world will find out what this jury has to say.
Right, 25 minutes away, really, from one of the biggest cases we've covered in so many different respects. Vinny, one more question before I bring Josh and Jack in, and that is, you know, before I could always hear behind you, behind Shanley, people chanting and they had their signs. Is there any of that, or do you think because Johnny Depp is not going to be there, there's less of that?
Oh, there's definitely less of that. You know, there's a sprinkling. It reminds me, it's a little bit less than when this trial first began. I was here the first week. First week, it was a little more quiet. Then once people realized what was actually happening in this courthouse, we saw what happened, things snowball. But right now, yeah, definitely less people. There's, you know, just a handful or so. There's the Johnny Depp faithful fans who got their wristbands. They've been in the courthouse. They're not leaving. They would not leave the courthouse until this jury came back. So they will be there, but not the huge crowds. But my guess is you may get a few more coming out at the moment when the attorneys exit the front doors after the verdict. But right now, everyone's waiting for that moment inside the courtroom. Such a huge moment because of the investment. And I spoke about this before, but it's true because everyone has formed some level of an opinion about what happened in this relationship. And people have formed opinions about what the truth is. But in our system of justice, we entrust the jury to tell us what the truth is and what it means when that truth is applied to the law of the case. So I think this is probably one of the most unpredictable moments I've had in my career at Court TV. Number one, because it's a civil case. Number two, because of the nature and just the way this trial took on a life of its own. You can't help but be influenced by all the social media noise that goes in only one direction. But then you read the verdict form and you understand what the law is and you say, this is not an easy case for Johnny Depp to win.
Absolutely. Legally, I absolutely agree with you. What are they going to do? And I want to turn our attention to the optics a little bit. Let me ask you, Jack Rice, a criminal defense attorney. You've done many, many trials. This is a civil case. But what do you think the optics are like for people to hear that Amber Heard is expected? It was 4 minutes, probably less now. But Johnny Depp has issued a statement that he will not be there for the reading of the verdict.
It's a mistake. flatly it's a mistake in this case because there are two verdicts going on here. There's the jury verdict and there's the verdict in the public opinion. And what this has to be about is about life and death. I mean, that was the argument during closings. This was about Johnny Depp getting his life back, and that everything else is secondary to that. And so the ability to put this before the public and say, I needed my truth heard. I need the jury of 7 to understand what has happened to me in this case, and I will hold my breath waiting for that answer. I will be wherever you want me to be, whenever you want me to be, and however you want me to be until you have decided what that answer is. So I don't like the fact that he's not showing up because it has nothing to do with what's going on inside the courtroom, but it has to do with everybody else watching.
All right, let me ask you this, Vinny, before I bring Josh in on this point. I said verdicts because we know it's 6 verdicts because there are 3 statements for each side, and the jury has to go through that special verdict form and answer each question and then get to damages or not, depending on if they answer yes or no. Tell us a little bit more of that and your opinion about, I know you touched on it earlier, but your opinion about they've deliberated 12 hours, yet they had to do all of that work.
Yeah, they did. And the statements that Johnny Depp has sued Amber Heard on are different. I look at each one of them a little bit differently, and there's different issues and obstacles that Johnny Depp has in proving each one of them. So I could see a mixture of those 3. There could be no defamation for one of them and defamation found in another statement. So I think you could get a mixed verdict for the statements Johnny Depp is alleging are defamatory. Amber Heard's statements, on the other hand, are very, very similar. And I think we've got live pictures from behind the courtroom right now.
Vinny, let me interrupt you because Amber Heard's arriving. Yep, we're just bringing that now. Here she is live. All right, Vinny, listen, she just, to me, acted the same way she's acted every time she's entered the courthouse, which is she's polite, she says hello, she says thank you, and then she walked into the courthouse. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was tough to make a read on it. The interesting part of this, remember, she sort of has been through this once before. The case in the UK, she was not a party, but she was a big part of that case. So she understands, I think, a little bit about this moment, learning the decision. But as she's coming in, they arrive in this truck all the time. It's an interesting way to arrive with a truck, but that's what they have. It looks a little tense. I would say, as I saw her face there, I saw a little bit of tension, and it always is. Judge Ashley, you know, all the attorneys with us know. Like, we get nervous as the lawyers, right? And still today, I feel it as a journalist covering it. I can't imagine what it's like to be the actual party to the litigation. I mean, it's got to be like a whole nother level, and you don't know you never know what this jury's going to say. You never, ever know what they're going to say.
And I always say, I believe in our jury system for civil and criminal, but to your point, we never know what a jury's going to do. Josh Schiffer, let me ask you this. Again, 12 hours of deliberating, 6 weeks of a trial, and 6 different verdicts that they've had to decide, potentially also damages. So do you think this is a short amount of time compared to what you might have expected?
Yeah, it tells me that they didn't spend a lot of time going through each thing to the utmost detail because there's just too much for them to have done that in simply 12 hours. These can be incredibly complex issues, and these are jurors. These are regular people. They don't have an education prior to this case on a lot of these concepts, and that means they're going to struggle with it, and they're going to have to figure it out. So coming back so quickly means that they came to a pretty good accord and agreement on the big issues quickly. That telegraphs to me that they went to a place of safety, and the place of safety that I see is a holding for Amber, that she was telling the truth and got to print these statements.
All right, you're all going to stay with us. We have to squeeze in a break. You're not going to want to miss any of this. Only 18 minutes until this verdict comes in. Stay with us. This is Amber Heard arriving just moments ago. The verdict is in 13 minutes away. This is a live look at the courtroom. You can see the attorneys are seated. We expect the announcement at 3 p.m. for the verdict 13 minutes from now. Still with us, Court TV's Vinnie Politan, lead anchor, and criminal defense attorneys Josh Schiffer and Jack Rice. Vinnie, I want to pick up on something you said right before the break, and that is about you can't even imagine how these parties must feel going into the courtroom waiting on a verdict. And the attorneys, I don't want to skip over the attorneys. case, because the reality is all of us have been in that side of waiting on a verdict. And as the attorney, I can tell you, I would feel like I almost just wanted to throw up because of that. What's going to happen? What's the verdict going to be? What is at stake for these attorneys, Vinny? I mean, they're going to get paid regardless of the verdict because their clients pay them. But what is at stake for them?
No, you win this case, that is huge. You win, and when I say win this case, if you win a defamation case, if either side gets a jury to say, yes, your client was defamed, whichever set of attorneys wins that, game changer for their careers. I mean, they're already going to have great careers based upon what everyone saw inside that courtroom, but it's going to go to a whole different level. I see Amber Heard right now walking into the courtroom. There she is, greeted by Ben Rottenborn and her team. Wow, everyone in there. What a moment, what a moment. But for everyone, I mean, for Amber Heard as well. I mean, this will have a huge impact, I think, on the way she sees herself and others see her, depending upon what this jury says. Johnny Depp, I don't think it's as much of a at stake at this moment, honestly. I think he spoke his piece and said what he had to say and revealed and painted a different picture than we originally had before this trial started, which was Johnny Depp, wife beater. I think it's a little more nuanced than that, at a minimum. At a minimum, it's more nuanced. So I think for him, not as much at stake for the actual verdict, but for his attorneys, her attorneys, if they can actually win this thing, it's epic, it's legendary, game changer, and their successful careers will go to a whole new level.
Right, I agree, Vinny. And one of the things I just have to comment, as you were saying that Amber Heard was entering the courtroom, that was being shown live, and Ben Rottenborn on her right, and then Rottenborn, and then we also have Elaine Bredehoft on her left. Did you notice she had a necklace on that she was kind of fingering with her hand as she sat down? I don't know what's on that. I'd never noticed her do that before, but she did that. She smiled at them. She's always been very appropriate in the courtroom. There was once that after she got off the stand, she went to the side room instead of sitting down. I would argue maybe that wasn't necessarily good, but she has sat there and watched and been fairly stoic as she's been watching. Josh, let me ask you, if you were one of these attorneys, how would you be feeling right now, 10 minutes away from this verdict?
You know, there's not really the perfect analogy because your whole life's been twisted up. This has been incredibly stressful and emotional. And remember, there's bad stress and there's good stress.
All right, hang on. We're going to we lost your audio. Let's go to Jack Rice. Jack, let me ask you that question. Well, we had just a little technical issue there. So, Jack, you're one of these attorneys. We're now almost 9 minutes away from the verdict. How are you feeling?
It's not about the money. It's not about my career. It's not about any of that. I have to tell you, and this has happened to me so many times, that I feel this viscerally. I feel like I am my client at this point. And in many ways, I feel like I'm the thing keeping my client from sinking. He's standing or she's standing on my shoulders, and I'm trying to not seep into the water. I'm trying to keep them dry. Sometimes it's not just them, it's their entire families. Yes, is that a lot? Yes, it is a lot. But the thing is you handle a case like this for months and months and months, sometimes years, and then you have to go in and do a trial. You know what's at stake. You know what this means. You know why it matters so much. And the thing is I want to feel that way because if I feel that way personally, I have the ability to convey that to my jury. The problem is it comes with an enormous cost. So in other words, yes, as lawyers, we're lawyers. I know, and I know what people think sometimes, but we're also human beings. And so what will happen is we carry that with us. I've had those cases where I've been successful and I've been walking around like, look at me, I'm fantastic. I've had the cases where I've carried around evidence in the trunk of my car for 6 months because I didn't want to let go of a case that I thought I could have won that I didn't.
Right. So, Vinny, I just have to point out, that was Whitney Enriquez that we just saw in the front row. She had her hair up, a black shirt. That, of course, was one of the witnesses, but she is the sister of Amber Heard. She, too, was kind of fiddling with a necklace. And, Vinny, as I look at these live shots of the courtroom, our court TV cameras in that courtroom, you can see that the entire gallery appears to be full again. All of the attorneys appear to be now seated. Oh, now we get a better view of the gallery. It's full. All the attorneys are there. The stenographer, the court reporter is there seated. It looks, Vinny, like everyone's present. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, all except the 8 most important people, the judge and the 7 jurors. Once they take their seats, then it's going to happen. My guess is the judge will do exactly what she said she was going to do at the top of the hour for this verdict. The scene there, filling up inside the courtroom, obviously all the parties are there. I can tell you what's happening outside the courthouse. The crowd is building here as well. And I think while in the courtroom there are decorum orders, I'm wondering at the moment of the verdict what sort of reaction we'll get from the crowd that is outside here in Fairfax County, Virginia, because a crowd absolutely building outside the courthouse, the doors where we expect the attorneys to exit. Inside, no one's allowed to say or do anything, but outside, those rules don't apply. So it'll be fascinating to see the reaction of the folks here outside the courtroom as they all watch the verdict or listen to the verdict on their personal devices while the folks inside the courtroom get to hear it in person. Again, an amazing moment right now in Fairfax County, both outside the courthouse and inside the courtroom.
Right. And Vinny, I was going to say, all of these people outside that courthouse, they can have their courttv.com app up to watch the verdict live, because you're right, they're not in the courthouse, they're not in that courtroom listening, but they can find out the verdict live at the same time. Final thoughts, Jack, about as we watch.
Everybody's holding their breath. Nobody knows the answers. Every time I count the number of minutes, the number of hours, I think I might know the answer, but we never know. I think in the end, what I'm really hoping is I'm hoping that we can all embrace the fact that a jury came in, they took 6 weeks of their lives. They get nothing for this. They don't get those 6 weeks back. And they gave it their best shot. The idea that this is what we do as a system is an extraordinary thing. And the idea that rule of law matters. And when we watch this, we should celebrate, even if it goes one direction or the other, because it doesn't matter. This jury of 7 did the best that they could do. And that's all we could ever ask from them.
Yeah, you know, this jury of 7, our jury system, I was a judge, our jury system works. And I've never met a jury that does not take their job very seriously. 6 weeks of listening to testimony. One thing I can assure you, these jurors didn't take it lightly when they had to go back and make a decision, because they have been there listening all day, day in, day out, for 6 weeks before they reach a decision. We're waiting now for the judge to come in. Of course, as is typical, the judge would come on the bench before the jury would be brought into the courtroom. I would assume that's what typically would happen. We're still waiting. That's a live shot. You can see all of the attorneys for Johnny Depp's team, and Benny Politan, Chanley Painter have been with us live from Fairfax, Virginia, and they have shared with us that Johnny Depp did release a statement, his team did, that he is not going to be present in the courtroom. Of course, not long ago, a few minutes ago, we saw Amber Heard arrive, and we now know it was her sister who exited the truck with her prior to her. She then came out. I don't think she appeared that different from what she looks like every day that she's come to court. She said thank you and kind of nodded at the deputies as she walked into the courthouse. Vinny, 4 minutes.
Yeah, this is it. You know, a lot of times you don't know exactly when the verdict's going to be read, right? The jury comes back and then they just kind of gather and they do it. Here, we know, top of the hour, this is going to happen. So as each minute ticks by, the tension builds, the tension builds. My guess is wherever Johnny Depp is in the world right now, somewhere in Europe, likely the UK, he's watching, he's anticipating what's going to happen here as well, despite the fact that he's not here in person. His attorneys seemed a little upbeat inside the courtroom, and I'm wondering if they're thinking what I'm thinking, that a quicker verdict gives them the best chance at a win here. If this jury looked at the evidence, looked at the case from the big picture. He said, she said, who do I believe, who don't I believe? But it could come up either way. It really can. It's very unpredictable. But I want to remind everyone about this jury, too. It's a relatively young jury. Young men, a young woman. It's you know, you got a couple that are older, like my age, not quite as old, you know, maybe a little bit older than Josh Schiffer, but probably closer to my age. So a little bit older, those jurors, but a good mixture, a good slice of Fairfax County, Virginia, which again, think about it, kind of a strange jurisdiction for really a Hollywood type of trial. Two celebrities, two actors, one legendary, the other just coming off of her Star is Born moment, but they're here in Fairfax County, Virginia. Seems random, but this is the jurisdiction that was chosen by Johnny Depp because of the Washington Post. So here we are, just moments away, Judge.
Moments away, 2 minutes, and freedom of speech at the heart of all of this. Freedom of speech, First Amendment right, we all have it. To say what you want. That's our freedom of speech right here in the United States. But at the core of this trial, defamation, you can't lie about me. Because as public figures, clear and convincing evidence, the jury has to have reached a unanimous verdict. The fact that they have a verdict means whatever it is, it's unanimous. Vinny, less than 2 minutes, And Vinny, I have to say, the gallery is really not moving. Of course, somebody's coming in and sitting down, but, you know, I've watched them during some of the breaks when the jury hasn't been in there, or when the jury's leaving, that they kind of talk to each other and move around and get something out of their bag. But right now, if you look, the gallery is pretty still. It doesn't look like anyone's talking to each other. They too understand the significance of this moment, 1 minute away for a verdict.
Yeah, and they know how they have to act. The deputies here in Fairfax County, Virginia, incredible job taking on what has transpired here at the courthouse. But the jury, not the jury, the gallery, the folks who come in and out every day, they know what the rules are. Very strict. No one wants to miss the moment. Before they do anything, they kind of make sure, am I allowed to do this? So I expect a great decorum in that courtroom during the reading of this verdict. And what folks should listen for at home is isn't guilty, not guilty. You're not going to hear those words. It's going to be more about yes and no. And we expect the first claims to be dealt with are Johnny Depp's claims. So it's going to take a series of yeses for him to win this case. So wait to hear for a series of yeses. If you start hearing no's, that's bad news for Johnny Depp. But if he gets a bunch of yeses and gets enough of them,
all right, here we go, Vinny. They're coming in. The judge is on the bench.
Here comes the judge.
All right. I understand we have a verdict. All right, are we ready for the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. All right. Just for everybody in the gallery, reminder that this is a court of law, and regardless of the verdict, I will not tolerate any outbursts whatsoever. Okay? Thank you. If I could have the attorneys approach for a moment.
Well, we were expecting the verdict, and you all just heard the judge say something that's been said frequently during this trial. Approach, please. I do have Michael Ayala joining us, anchor here on Court TV, as well as our lead anchor, Vinny Politan, in Virginia. Michael, what's the first thing you said? Because you said exactly what I was thinking when she said attorneys approach.
I said, that's not good. And I don't know who it's not good for, but generally, if she's calling them up there, there's some anomaly, something there that she doesn't like, or something that doesn't make sense according to what they were, the procedures that they wanted to follow. So she's trying to deal with them and see how they should continue.
Well, let's see.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what I need you to do, I need to give the forms back to you. When you find for a defamatory statement, one or more, you need to fill out the compensatory damages. It has to be at least $1 for compensatory damages and up to whatever you feel the damages should be. And for punitive damages, you can put a 0 there, or you can fill out that as well, but I need those lines filled out, okay? All right, so if I can have you retire back to the deliberation room and do that for me, okay? All right, so we'll be in recess till we hear back from them. Don't go too far, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right.
All right, here is what we've been waiting for, and now pins and needles. We're all still on pins and needles because the judge took a look at the special verdict forms. Remember, there are a total of 6 verdicts, 3 for each statement, 3 for each side, 6 verdicts, and immediately said, can you please approach? That is something we've heard throughout this trial, either because the attorneys requested or the judge requested. Vinny, what was your first thought when that happened?
Somebody won. Somebody won this trial. Somebody has been found to have defamed the other. We don't know who it is. What I would look at, if we had a shot of the judge as she was going through the form, what page is she on? What page was she on? Because if it's the first page, Johnny Depp wins. If it's like the 4th page, Amber Heard won. Somebody won. They just didn't fill out how much money to award. This is enormous. That's what I heard. My
approach, was it at the, she said, just for everyone now joining us, the judge said to the jury after speaking to the attorneys, when you find there's 1 or more defamatory statements, you must fill out damages, compensatory punitive damages, either a 0 or whatever, but you've got to fill that out. So Michael, I would agree completely with Vinny, and that is someone did win. At least one of these verdicts found defamation.
Yeah, and actually, Vinny, it's funny because you said it depends on what page she was on. I was trying to discern if she was turning pages or not. One would imagine that if Johnny was bringing the original case, his verdict forms would be read first. So if she was on the top, you would think then that he was the one, right? That it's his, the statements made against him, so he would have won. If she's flipping pages, having to go to the 3rd or 4th page, so to speak, then it would be Amber's case she'd be talking about. I could not discern what was happening, so I'm not sure, but I agree 100%. Somebody absolutely won this case. And let me just say this. You know, I agree with the guests, Josh and Jack, that this jury went at this viscerally. What did they believe, right? And I think the easiest thing to believe in this case is that they both abused each other. If they both abused each other, that was the visceral response I got. If that's the case, if you go through the questions, she wins, not Johnny. But again, we don't know. That's just kind of sitting out there until they get back in the courtroom.
And they don't have to say, the jury doesn't have to say which little pieces they believe, they didn't believe. We get their verdict. That's all we get. It's not as if they're going to be asked questions or give us more specifics about your thinking. Of course, after, if they choose to speak to media, they can do that. But from this, we will know the verdicts, and that's it. Can you imagine, Vinny, what do you think all these people, all of the people in the gallery, the viewers, the attorneys, the parties, Johnny Depp in the UK watching this to see what the verdict is or waiting to see on his phone from his attorneys, and they get ready, and we see the jury gets in, and the judge takes the bench, and, oh, wait a minute, you didn't fill out all the forms, so we need you to go back and now make this other decision. And frankly, Vinny, they could make that decision in 5 minutes. It could take them 5 more hours.
It could. The other thing I want to know is, do the lawyers know yet who won this trial? Did the lawyers see the verdict form? They were up at the sidebar. I could not tell because they're huddled around there. We're not supposed to see what's happening at the sidebar, but I'm wondering if each set of lawyers now know we won. We won the liability. That would be unreal at this moment. And now the jury's got to figure out, well, what are the damages? You know, punitive damages, that's capped because of tort liability down here, but the compensatory damages as well. I mean, we're talking about right now potential $100 million at stake because somebody won this trial. I can't believe it. Michael, you know, we know, Judge, you know how difficult it is in the United States of America as a public figure to win a defamation case. And somebody won. To me, it's the most shocking of all verdicts here that somebody won. Not the most. The most, though, would be if they come back with 50 million or 100 million. Then I'm hitting the ground here. I'm going to be on the ground. You have to fly to Virginia and pick me up because, wow, what a moment. This is unbelievable.
What a moment. I can't imagine either that there's going to be a 50 million or 100 million award. But the point is, we don't know yet because the jury hasn't decided that yet. That's why they have to go back. So just for all viewers to know, they have to go back and continue deliberation. They're back in a room with no one else having any access for them to again deliberate about how much money or if they're going to award any money. Michael, how long do you think that might take, knowing somebody won, but they've got to decide the amounts of money?
I think that might take some time. I thought there was definite arguments as to how much money each side proved they were hurt by these statements of the other. I think Amber's didn't go nearly as well as Johnny Depp's went. I thought Johnny Depp's went very well. I thought they eviscerated her expert that she brought in to talk about how much she lost. So I think she's in trouble there. Although there is the L'Oreal contract, which I think can be directly related to these statements or the fact that it was a hoax if she won. So I think that might be in play. But here's what I do know for a fact. The reason why we're all surprised that someone won a defamation case is because they had to prove by clear and convincing evidence that it was done with either a reckless disregard for the truth or with malice. I think that guarantees, since we know somebody won, that guarantees the punitive damages. And remember, it's controlled by statute in Virginia, so it's only $375,000. Not a lot of money in the context of a $50 million and $100 million lawsuit. So I think that's a sure thing. I think there will be punitive damages, and I think it will be the statutory limit.
And punitive damages, we know it's not only to punish the party.
Behind me. We've got some noise behind me. I don't know what's happening. We have a camera on them, I think, that we could take. You can see what's happening out there. I don't know if it was a member of the team.
Let's see, Vinny, we can see now. All right, so we can see there in the back with all the people. So one of the things I want to say about punitive damages is we know those are to punish, but also to send a message. And so if a jury determines they're going to award those, I think it's also a message to individuals when they choose to speak to publish an op-ed, to put information out there that's not truthful in a case like this. Well, guess what? You can be found responsible and you can be out of pocket money. And so that's one of the goals if punitive damages are awarded. They don't need to be. Michael Ayala, I see you motioning because you've got something good. Jump in, please, sir.
I do. When it comes to the punitive damages, it's interesting because the message that was sent by Ben Rottenborn in his closing was that your verdict will send a message to domestic violence victims. Let's say she loses. I think it also sends a message, right? It kind of backfired on him because the message they would be sending is, and we've talked about it a lot during this trial, this whole cancel culture thing and the idea that the Me Too movement may have rushed to judgment on a lot of people's careers, et cetera, before due process. Well, they could be saying to domestic violence victims, if you are going to come forward and publicly say that you were a victim, you better be telling the truth. So that's, of course, if she loses and punitive damages are awarded for Johnny, they could be sending that message to domestic violence victims.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you brought it back around, Michael, to the whole reason that this lawsuit was brought in the first place. And I think all of us could admit at best, and I am saying at best, this was a very dysfunctional relationship with all types of issues, including substance abuse, including alcohol use, and the domestic violence aspect. We can't forget that's the heart of this case. That is what all of this is about. And there have been so many viewers responding, Vinny, and if you look at social media, it's all over it. I'm a victim. I was a victim. And guess what? Here's what I think, and I so value that the public has been willing to come out in a very real way and say, as a survivor, as a victim, this is what I can tell you. And I think at the end of the day, that's a positive part of all of this.
Absolutely, because one side or the other is the victim of abuse, or potentially both. And that's become a part of the conversation out of this case. And you've seen a little growth in the hashtag #MenToo, because looking at Johnny Depp as a man who is potentially the victim of abuse, as he testified to inside that courtroom under oath. So there's a lot that is going to come out of this trial and come out of this verdict. You know, there's the issue of defamation, what you can and can't say. False accusations, either falsely accusing someone of lying or falsely accusing someone of abusing you. Both very serious, extremely serious. We have the freedom of speech in this country, but we don't have the freedom to defame others and try to take them down with malice. So that's another thing that we take away from this. The other thing is the way the public has reacted to this. And this, to me, will be the most interesting part of this, because there are Johnny Depp fans, okay? Let's put them aside. There are Amber Heard supporters, not quite as many, but put them aside. Those people in the middle who all of a sudden became intrigued by what our cameras inside that courtroom were showing to the world. All of them formed an opinion about what they were seeing and what they were hearing inside that courtroom. And for them to see our system play out and what it means, the way they saw it, which overwhelmingly, I think we have to admit, overwhelmingly pro-Johnny Depp. Not the Johnny Depp fans. What about the people in the middle? They still break overwhelmingly for Johnny Depp. Are they in sync with the 7 people in the jury box? And depending upon what they say, if they are in sync, I think it tells us that, hey, that visceral reaction that people were having watching the trial is the same reaction that jury had inside the courtroom. But if this verdict comes back and it's Amber Heard winning a defamation case against Johnny Depp, then there's the disconnect between the courtroom and the court of public opinion. Again, not the Johnny Depp fans, the people who just started watching this trial and came to their own conclusion based upon what they saw and heard. So to me, that's the fascinating part, because I've seen that before. I'm not going to say her name, Michael.
And Vinny,
it was that woman down in Orange County, Florida.
And let me just say, I think there's movement in live court. Let me see if we have cameras in the courtroom to see what's happening. You do see, this is live. You see the attorney still seated at both desks. We see people coming in and sitting down. And, you know, I just have to...
Let me ask you, Ashley.
Yeah.
Can I ask you one thing, Ashley? Because you can see a lot better than I can.
Sure.
Is there any way to determine the mood of the attorneys on either side? Because there's a slight chance, the judge may not have allowed them to see it, that they saw the verdict form, so they would know if they won or lost. Is there any change or any stark difference that you're seeing? Because I can't quite tell from my monitor.
That's a great question. I'm going to say, you know, initially my gut reaction to you is no, Vinny. You see Amber Heard taking a sip out of a bottle. You see water, whatever, clearly. But then you see her attorneys both seated and waiting. And the same for Johnny Depp's. But I have to say, upon reflection as I'm watching, boy, Michael, what do you think? Johnny Depp's team are very stoic. They do. Vinny, they do. What do you think, Michael?
I would think the posture of those men, and again, you know, I hate to do this because we're reading tea leaves, right? But if you're asking me, the posture of Ben Chew and his associate there does not seem victorious to me in any way. It doesn't say victorious. Now, what I'm seeing on the other side is a lot more chatter. I see Amber Heard's back straight. I see her sitting there in a way that suggests victory. So just viscerally looking at the scene, that's what I'm reading.
And Benjamin Chew, you just made a really good point. His associate, now he's kind of smiling, but he kind of had his his fingers at the bridge of his nose, leaning down a little. And gosh, Vinny, right when you asked that question, I did notice he was sitting very, very straight with no good expression on his face. So maybe they saw it. Now, I'm going to say this, as a former judge, I would have been really careful, quite frankly, to make sure they didn't know which verdict form I was talking about, because that's not appropriate. For me, I would think on the bench, and I would make certain they simply knew there was an issue, no damages filled out, but that they didn't know who won. But, and this judge has, oh, they're all standing. This judge has been very good. Let's listen.
All right. Shall we try this again? All right. Let's do that. All right. We're ready for the jury. All right, Mr. Foreperson, is this the verdict of the jury?
Yes.
All right, is it unanimous?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Jamie?
In civil case number CL 2019-2911, Mr. Depp's claim against Ms. Heard. 1. As to the statement appearing in the online op-ed entitled, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. In the Washington Post online edition, quote, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change, end quote. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes. Has Mr. Depp proven by a greater weight of the evidence that, question, the statement was made or published by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false? Answer, yes. Question, the statement has a defamatory implication about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the defamatory implication was designed and intended by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, due to circumstances surrounding the publication of the statement, it conveyed a defamatory implication to someone who saw it other than Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven by clear and convincing evidence that Ms. Heard acted with actual malice? Answer, yes. 2, as to the statement appearing in the op-ed entitled A Transformative Moment for Women in the Washington Post print edition and the online op-ed, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change, in the Washington Post online edition. Quote, then 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out, end quote. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes. Has Mr. Depp proven by a greater weight of the evidence that, question, the statement was made or published by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false? Answer, yes. Question, the statement has a defamatory implication about Mr. Depp. Answer, yes. Question, the defamatory implication was designed and intended by Ms. Heard. Answer, yes. Question, due to circumstances surrounding the publication of the statement, it conveyed a defamatory implication to someone who saw it other than Mr. Depp. Answer, yes. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven by clear and convincing evidence that Ms. Heard acted with actual malice? Answer, yes. 3, as to the statement appearing in the op-ed entitled "A Transformative Moment for Women" in the Washington Post print edition and the online op-ed, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. In the Washington Post online edition. Quote, I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse. End quote. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes. Has Mr. Depp proven by a greater weight of the evidence that question, the statement was made or published by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false? Answer, yes. Question, the statement has a defamatory implication about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the defamatory implication was designed and intended by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, due to circumstances surrounding the publication of this statement, it conveyed a defamatory implication to someone who saw it other than Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven by clear and convincing evidence that Ms. Heard acted with actual malice? Answer, yes. As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award compensatory damages in the amount of $10 million. As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $5 million. In civil case number CL 2019-2911, Ms. Heard's claim against Mr. Depp. 1. As to this statement appearing in the April 8, 2020 online edition of the Daily Mail, quote, Amber Heard and her friends in the media use fake sexual violence allegations as both a sword and shield, depending on their needs. They have selected some of her sexual violence hoax facts as the sword, inflicting them on the public and Mr. Depp. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, no. 2. As to this statement appearing in the April 27, 2020 online edition of the Daily Mail, quote, quite simply, this was an ambush, a hoax. They set Mr. Depp up by calling the cops, but the first attempt did not do the trick. The officers came to the penthouses, thoroughly searched and interviewed, and left after seeing no damage to face or property. So Amber and her friends spilled a little wine and roughed the place up, got their story straight under the direction of a lawyer and publicist, and then placed a second call to 911, end quote. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes. Has Ms. Heard proven by a greater weight of the evidence that question, Mr. Waldman, while acting as an agent for Mr. Depp, made or published the statement? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was about Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was seen by someone other than Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false? Answer, yes. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven by clear and convincing evidence that the statement by Mr. Waldman was made with actual malice? Answer, yes. 3. As to this statement, appearing in the April 27, 2020 online edition of the Daily Mail, quote, "We've reached the beginning of the end of Ms. Heard's abuse hoax against Johnny Depp," end quote. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, no. As against John C. Depp II, we, the jury, award compensatory damages in the amount of $2 million. As against John C. Depp II, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $0.
Does either side wish to have the jury polled?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Jamie?
Members of the jury, if this is your verdict, please answer yes. If this is not your verdict, please answer no. Juror number 6. Yes. Juror number 10.
Yes.
Juror number 15.
Yes.
Juror number 16.
Yes.
Juror number 22.
Yes.
Juror number 27.
Yes.
Juror number 29.
Yes.
I do find that the jury's verdict is unanimous. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes your service in this case. I want to thank you again for your dedication and your hard work during this trial. And I know I speak for everybody here when I tell you that we appreciate your sacrifices and your time and your public service in this matter, okay? So I'm going to have you go back to the jury deliberation room for one more time, and then we'll release you from there, okay? All right, thank you.
Jury is leaving the courtroom. Wow is all I can say. Wow, wow, wow. Here's what just happened. You heard it directly from the reading of the verdict. Amber Heard lost.
In accordance with law, I will amend the punitive damages award to the statutory cap of $350,000 on Mr. Depp's award, okay? I will set this down for entry of an order, and can we do it on June 24th at 10 a.m. if that's available? All right,
Yes,
if Mr. Chu, if you could prepare that order and then circulate it to Ms. Pretterhoff, and we can have all the objections noted on it. All right?
We'll do that, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
All right, and if I get it before that date, I'll take it off the docket, okay? All right, again, thank you to all the attorneys for your professionalism, and you're welcome to come to my courtroom anytime. Well, give me a few weeks, but then you can come anytime, okay? All right,
Thank you, Your Honor.
court is adjourned.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
So Amber Heard lost in the lawsuit by Johnny Depp against Amber Heard. All 3 statements, 3 verdicts in Johnny Depp's favor. All 7 questions answered yes. And as a result of all 3 of those verdicts in favor of Johnny Depp against Amber Heard, compensatory damages awarded of $10 million, punitive awarded of $5 million, but statutorily the judge had to decrease that to $350,000. That's what's allowed in Virginia. Look at the Depp team. Now, let me say this. I have criticized so many hugs during the course of the trial. Now that the trial is over, the courtroom has cleared of the jury. This I understand. They have secured a huge win for Johnny Depp. Now, Amber Heard did win in one of the 3 statements by her against Johnny Depp in her lawsuit. She did win one of those. The jury found for one of the statements by Mr. Waldman for Johnny Depp on behalf of Johnny Depp that it was defamation. So she won one of the 3 claims against Johnny Depp, awarded by this jury $2 million compensatory, 0 punitive. So she did win in that part of the countersuit, but what a huge win. We are going to have Vinny Politan, who is our lead anchor, there live in Fairfax, Virginia, with a reaction. Here we see them leaving the courtroom. I don't know, Vinny, if you're still with me yet, but are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Excellent. Tell me,
I'm here.
First of all,
going nowhere, Judge, going nowhere.
Woo, what's your
They picked me up off
reaction?
the ground. They picked
right?
They picked me up off the ground, put me back in my seat. This is unbelievable. First of all, both sides getting a finding of liability for defamation is unreal to begin with, but the amounts here. So now at the end of the day, I'm doing the quick math. It looks like Amber Heard owes Johnny Depp $8.35 million. That's more than he paid in the divorce, by the way. So after the divorce, he's up more than $1 million after separating from Amber Heard. This is a game changer on so many different levels. It's not just about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. It's about anyone who is falsely accused of abusing someone. You now have a path to redemption. That path to redemption is in a courthouse where you go in and say, guess what? You can't accuse me of something that I didn't do. I'm going to bring you in front of a jury. I'm going to tell my story and let the jury tell the world what really happened. So this is a victory for Johnny Depp, a huge victory, but it's a victory for any man or any woman who has been falsely accused of domestic abuse. Big message sent, game changer in the legal world.
Absolutely, Vinny, and let's put it specifically for her. That's what this jury found, that Amber Heard lied in a publication. She published the statements, lied about abuse at the hands of Johnny Depp, that it was with malice or reckless disregard. And as a result, she was punished. She has been ordered to pay $10 million to him, and again, $5 million punitive that is going to be adjusted to $350. Michael Ayala, your reaction to these verdicts?
Well, there's no reckless disregard because you either believed her story or you didn't. It wasn't a misunderstanding. They didn't believe her story. They believe she put these stories out there with malice. She wanted to hurt Johnny Depp, so I take that away. The other part I take away from is they also sent a little bit of a message to the attorney for Johnny Depp. And I don't know how closely they connected the two of them based on the verdict, and we can discuss that. But basically, the only statement that he made that they awarded Amber Heard was when he went too far in explaining how they went about and created the hoax. He basically was saying that they went in afterwards, they messed up the place, spilled some wine, called the cops again. They felt that was a defamatory statement, telling him, hey, you went too far. They didn't feel like the comment that it was a hoax went too far, but to claim that they went that far. So I found that interesting in giving her a little bit of a win and awarding her ultimately $2 million, which I kind of felt would be the case because I think there was a nexus between what went on here and her loss of that L'Oreal contract. That might be where they got that money from, but it still doesn't make 100% sense to me, this verdict. Ultimately, if you believe she lied, then all the stuff that we saw happening at the penthouse would have had to have happened somehow. How did it happen? You would have to believe that maybe they set it up. But again, they think he went too far with that statement. I'd love to get your thoughts, Ashley.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on that. First, I just want to point out, this was Amber. We're showing you again her face, and I have to say, I commented off air as soon as they were showing her face before the verdict and all the yeses were read for Johnny Depp's case. She just, to me, looked like she was about to break down, to cry. I don't know if she suspected that she was going to lose. I don't know if she just felt sick to her stomach at having to sit there to hear what the outcome was. But Michael, I have to comment and appreciate that you broke it down in terms of the one verdict Amber Heard prevailed on against Johnny Depp. And it is interesting because, to your point, it is saying we don't believe anything she said. We believe that she lied, outright lied with malice, but yet she wins on this one statement because it went too far. And the reality is, did it go too far? We don't really know. But to your point, we don't know what happened. And so it's an interesting way to split the baby in the middle in some regards. And Vinny, you've talked a lot about the effect of this on the middle, and that you have the Depp supporters and you have the Amber Heard supporters. What was the crowd like behind you? Where do you think viewers, crowd, court of public opinion is coming down on this now?
Oh, it was all Johnny outside the courthouse. I mean, as each verdict, they're getting the verdict, right? They're on their devices. Everyone's getting a different way. And one person kind of took the lead, I think, in making the announcements. And then the chants of Johnny, Johnny, Johnny. People were jubilant, jumping up and down. Then I heard someone scream, $10 million. And again, another explosion from the crowd behind us, clearly supporting Johnny Depp and now waiting for the heroes to come out, right? The heroes for Johnny Depp. Ben Chu, Camille Vasquez, and the rest of his team to come out and address the media. I expect they're going to make a statement. There's no way you don't take a victory lap after winning the trial of this century. So we're waiting for that moment to happen, obviously, here in front of the courthouse. But the fact that that she wins 1, he wins 3, there's only one way to calculate the winner and the loser here. It's math. I was pretty good at math back in the day, and if you've got to pay the other person $8.35 million, you lost. So make no mistake, Amber Heard lost this trial. Johnny Depp won. He's got the victory lap. He's the one who can talk about what really happened. And he's the one now who can talk about trying to rebuild his name, his reputation, and that incredible acting career.
And he's already performing in the UK music, of course, but he's been doing that, and that's where he had published and sent out a list of the different events he already had planned. So he's on his way to that, I would argue. All right, we're expecting a press conference. We are going to take the opportunity so that you don't miss anything to take a short commercial break. We'll be right back with any press conferences here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
in hope today.
In civil case number CL 2019-2911, Mr. Depp's claim against Ms. Heard. 1. As to the statement appearing in the online op-ed entitled, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. In the Washington Post online edition, quote, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change, end quote. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes. As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award compensatory damages in the amount of $10 million. As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $5 million. As against John C. Depp II, we, the jury, award compensatory damages in the amount of $2 million. As against John C. Depp II, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $0.
And there you heard it, the verdicts that were announced in the courtroom just shortly ago. Still with me, I have Vinny Politan, lead anchor for Court TV in Fairfax, Virginia. Also, Chanley Painter, who was inside that courtroom. Chanley, I know that we have statements by Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. We're going to get to those in a minute. First of all, I have to ask you your reaction and what it felt like in the courtroom as these verdicts were announced. All right,
Chanley,
Vinny, I think
can't hear you right now, but I'll relay the question.
Okay.
What was it like inside the courtroom as this verdict came down?
Yes, okay, let's go inside the courtroom. First of all, let's start before the jury entered. The attorneys entered first. I'm sure you guys could watch it unfold inside the courtroom. They left a spot for Amber Heard at counsel table. The gallery was chatting until that door opened and Amber Heard was escorted in by her usual deputy or the bailiff of the courtroom. She sits down, immediately a big smile on her face towards her lawyers, her team that have worked so hard for her. She hugged them and it was constant chatter between her and Elaine Bredhoff as we sat there and waited for the jury to come in. But it was like a hush in the gallery, like everyone was taking deep breaths. As they waited, I could hear some whispers of a gallery, not quite as full as other days of testimony, but still pretty full of Johnny Depp fans, like a countdown. It was like 3 minutes away, 2 minutes away, 1 minute away before the judge would enter the courtroom. So the door opens, judge enters. Now we have the jury walking in. Now, when the jury walks in, all the attorneys stand up. The gallery is not allowed to stand up when the jury enters, which is unusual from what we see in courtrooms. So, but I was trying to peek around the attorneys, and I didn't notice any of the 7 jurors looking over towards Amber Heard as she stood there at counsel table, or as she sat back down at counsel table. They all looked serious, they all looked solemn, but also confident, especially number 7. This is the first time they enter the courtroom when they hand over the verdict forms before the judge tells them that they need to go back and fill out some of the forms. So when the judge does call the attorneys to the sidebar that first time, I noticed the jurors looking towards the gallery, per usual, taking in who's in the gallery, but still none really looking over towards Amber Heard. And then the judge instructs them to go back and fill out the damages portion of the verdict form. And about 3 or 4 of the jurors nodded their head like they understood, they got it, but especially juror number 7, who I've been calling number 7 in the order that he sits in the box on the front row. He's one of the young men, appears to be white, appears to be in his 20s or his 30s, and he was one, Vinny, I know I told you, his face lit up when the name Kate Moss was called as a witness in this case, but one of those who was so attentive and a note taker, and I thought then, I think he's the foreperson. So they go back out of the room to fill out the rest of the forms, come back in, the verdict is rendered, and it took a while to read this verdict, right? Because it was 6 different statements and findings. So as it unfolded and was read, I was watching the jury, and they didn't have anything on their faces, stoic for the most part. However, I did notice the foreperson, juror number 7, before it turned to Amber Heard's side of this case, he kind of lifted his head like a deep breath, but a confident one, like, right, here it comes. And that was the only thing I noticed from the jury the entire time while the verdict was being read in the courtroom. Now, the gallery was holding hands. The Johnny Depp fans, they were holding hands, bracing themselves, and you could tell they were pleased with this outcome.
I have to, I just want to put my head down and my heart would stop, right? Like, if you're one of those people, one of those parties, I just think, whew, your heart, anyone on the jury, Vinny, don't you think they must have just felt like they're waiting, that their heart has stopped, waiting to hear what's next?
Yeah, and the thing with this verdict that made it so different was the fact of the delay. Like, we knew someone had won. Someone had won this case. We just didn't know what the number was or which side had won, which to me added a whole nother level to what happened, Chanley, inside that courtroom. What was that moment like? They're at the bench and then they turn around, the attorneys, and they come back. I mean, this doesn't happen.
Our cameras don't pick up their faces when they turn towards the gallery, so I'm trying to scrutinize their faces. All pleasant
leaving
looks.
The courtroom.
You know, they knew someone at that point had a defamatory finding. We didn't know who.
Right.
So they were both pleasant looks on the side of their faces. So nothing to avert. They knew someone was going to be awarded damages at that point. I did notice a little bit more of pleasantness and smiles, looks towards each other on Depp's side of the courtroom with Camille Vasquez, the young attorney sitting next to her on the left, and of course with Ben Chu as well. He would turn and kind of take in the gallery at times. Not as much from Amber Heard's team.
Yeah. So let me just say, Amber Heard just left. We just showed her leaving the courthouse. Pretty much a straight, efficient beeline from the courthouse to the truck. That was it. So a perfect time. Chanley, I understand that you may have a statement that's been issued by the team for Amber Heard.
I sure do. Amber Heard's team wasted no time in issuing a statement, and here it is, a statement from Amber Heard. It says, "The disappointment I feel today is beyond words. I'm heartbroken that the mountain of evidence still was not enough to stand up to the disproportionate power, influence, and sway of my ex-husband. I'm even more disappointed with what this verdict means for other women. It is a setback. It sets back the clock to a time when a woman who spoke up and spoke out could be publicly shamed and humiliated. It sets back the idea that violence against women is to be taken seriously. I believe Johnny's attorney succeeded in getting the jury to overlook the key issue of freedom of speech and ignore evidence that was so conclusive that we won in the UK. I'm sad I lost this case, but I am sadder still that I seem to have lost a right I thought I had as an American to speak freely and openly." And that is what we have from Heard's team. If they want to speak further, there is a press conference set up right here if they want to exit and say anything else.
All right, and I just have to point out, first of all, that conclusive in the UK, different standards, different case, different person was sued. So I do think there are differences in those two trials, but that was the statement issued by Amber Heard's team. What did Johnny Depp's team have to say following this verdict?
A few minutes later, Johnny Depp's spokesperson also issued a statement about this case. It says, "A statement from Johnny Depp via his spokesperson. 6 years ago, my life, the life of my children, the lives of those who closest to me, and also the lives of the people who for many, many years have supported and believed in me were forever changed, all in a blink of an eye. False, very serious, and criminal allegations were levied at me via the media, which triggered an endless barrage of hateful content, although no charges were ever brought against me. It had already traveled around the world twice within a nanosecond, and it had a seismic impact on my life and my career. And 6 years later, the jury gave me my life back. I am truly humbled. My decision to pursue this case, knowing very well the height of the legal hurdles that I would be facing and the inevitable worldwide spectacle into my life, was only made after considerable thought. From the very beginning, the goal of bringing this case was to reveal the truth, regardless of the outcome. Speaking the truth was something that I owed my children, and to all those who have remained steadfast in their support of me, I feel at peace, knowing I have finally accomplished that. I am and have been overwhelmed by the outpouring of love and the colossal support and kindness from around the world. I hope that my quest to have the truth be told will have helped others, men and women, who have found themselves in my situation, and that those supporting them never give up. I also hope that the position will now return to innocent until proven guilty. both within the courts and in the media. I wish to acknowledge the noble work of the judge, the jurors, the court staff, and the sheriffs who have sacrificed their own time to get to this point, and to my diligent and unwavering legal team who did an extraordinary job in helping me to share the truth. The best is yet to come, and a new chapter has finally begun. Truth never perishes.
All right. 2 statements. Vinny, I don't think they're surprising in terms of how it would feel to lose a case of this magnitude. You already pointed out that Amber Heard will owe $8.35 million to Johnny Depp, and for the winner, Johnny Depp, by all arguments, to issue the type of statement he did. What's your reaction, though, to these statements?
Well, I want to reread Amber Heard's statement because she lost. This jury said that she was not abused, okay? Is there anything potentially defamatory in the statement that Amber Heard just released? I mean, I listened to it, I gotta look at it again, but to me, it almost seems a little more defamatory potentially than the op-ed was. And that was worth $10 million. It's interesting. I'm sure it's carefully worded. I hope that her legal team went through it, but a little dangerous. I mean, it's dancing on the line here with that op-ed. You've just lost the defamation case for making a statement kind of like this, and you just made it again. But I do have to take a moment to really read it. But I was listening to it, and it sounded to me like it was on the borderline. And I just hope that Ben Rottenborn and Elaine Bredehoff went through it first. And I can't wait to hear from Johnny Depp's team.
Yeah.
They're coming out?
They're coming out. We just received word that Johnny Depp's team will be coming out here for a presser. Our camera, of course, on standby to take that live when it does happen.
Absolutely.
And they're going to be greeted with this huge crowd.
Oh, yeah. It's a home crowd for them. This is going to be a roar that you're going to hear behind us.
And they're expected to start soon. I know we'll be taking a quick break so we can bring that to our viewers live. We're not going to take a break because we don't know when it's going to start. That makes more sense. But let me just say this also. You have to wonder. The PR
I hear the
team's okay.
noise.
Here we go. Let's go.
Here they come right now. I see Ben Chu.
Hi, everyone. Today's verdict confirms what we have said from the beginning, that the claims against Johnny Depp are defamatory and unsupported by any evidence. We are grateful, so grateful to the jury for their careful deliberation, to the judge and the court staff who have devoted an enormous amount of time and resources towards this case.
Our judicial system is predicated on each person's right to have his or her case heard, and we were honored, truly honored, to assist Mr. Depp in ensuring that his case was fairly considered throughout the trial. We are also most pleased that the trial has resonated for so many people in the public who value truth and justice. Now that the judge has reached its conclusive verdict, it's time to turn the page and look to the future. Thank you all so much, and thanks to the jury.
Thank you so much.
Vasquez, have you spoken to Johnny? How is he feeling? How's Johnny feeling?
Will Johnny and Amber ever speak to each other again?
Vasquez, is this the end of the matter? Miss Vasquez, will there be any more legal action?
Is Mr. Johnny Depp going to run for office?
Really short and sweet. You can see they made a statement. Both of the attorneys, Camille Vasquez went first, followed by Benjamin Chu representing Johnny Depp. And you could hear people cry out, where's Johnny? Why isn't Johnny here? What does Johnny think? And it didn't appear as though they answered those questions. Let me turn it back to you, Vinny and Chanley. So we did hear them say that its supported claims are defamatory, unsupported by evidence, that they are grateful that each has a right to have their case heard in court. That's the nature of our system. And of course, their honor in representing Johnny Depp. They didn't say a whole lot, Vinny.
Well, we've got a rock star moment happening right now. I don't know if you can hear me, but behind me, everyone is gathered around Ben Chu and Camille Vasquez. Deputies trying to control it, because you got to control not only the people, you got to control us, the media. Everyone wants a picture, everyone wants a piece of the winning team. Johnny Depp's not here, but his team is, and they are being surrounded. This is lawyers don't get moments like this, by the way.
I've never seen this. Maybe you've seen this?
No, not for lawyers. I've never seen it to this level, this extent. The moment that we're watching right now, I think we're going to get a camera on it in just a second. We're going to whip it around. A lot of moving pieces right now, but you should be able to see it in a moment. But it is just a, what is it, a gaggle? Is it a gaggle of media?
It's a gaggle. I mean,
is that what we call it?
And fans. I don't know how they're going to pull away with the crowd around the vehicle like that.
So they're trying to clear them out right now. I feel like we're almost hosting a parade here at this moment, Judge Ashley. It's like a parade moment, right? We're here. It's happening over there. The crowd is going wild. That's what it's like. They're not going to get the Canyon of Heroes necessarily, but it's the closest you get in Fairfax County, Virginia right now, which is what's happening. And we may have a camera on it. If we have it, you should take that shot, but I'm not sure if we have it yet. But an amazing moment.
Right, amazing, incredible moment. These are people who have been here day in and day out. Locals mostly, Vinny. I remember you talking about, the first couple weeks we were here at this case, nobody knew what was happening. And as the weeks progressed throughout the trial, the testimony, it was like a snowball effect. And even though the crowds dwindled maybe inside for wristbands, they showed up every day for arrivals, departures, and even for the lawyers, even when the superstar Johnny Depp is not here in person.
I must disagree with Chanley, though. She said snowball. Avalanche.
Avalanche.
Yep.
Avalanche is what's happening here. This is unreal. But now they've got some control over the crowd. Crowd, they don't respond. When the deputies talk, they listen.
Yes.
But now you've got that moment where one more round of applause, the victorious exit. I can't imagine what they're feeling. You hear the motorcade.
I hear the motorcade.
This doesn't happen to lawyers.
This doesn't happen. I was going to say,
happen to lawyers.
I have worked a very long time for a very good reputation as a trial lawyer, as a judge, and I still get to hear all the jokes about lawyers and what people think of lawyers when they meet us as lawyers. And so the fanfare, you never have that fanfare as a lawyer after a case, and wow is all I can say. I'm amazed. It's staggering the support that they just got from that crowd as they were saying a few words. Unbelievable. This entire trial, really, from my perspective, has been unbelievable. The momentum of the trial, the number of people interested, the outcome of the trial, all of it is I think we could teach a course in law school using just this trial. Chanley, I've got to ask you this. The two statements that came out from Johnny Depp's team as well as Amber Heard's team, do you all think that I want to hear from both of you, do you think they prepared those statements before the verdict ever came back and prepared one for each instance? Because those came out pretty quickly.
Oh, it did. It was really quick. Within minutes of the verdicts being handed down, the statements were issued. So it does make me feel as though they prepared for both sides, both outcomes, whatever it may be, because they were sent so quickly. It would make sense for them to be prepared like that.
Yeah. Be prepared. Well, the question is, though, are you prepared for a loss? I mean, I can't see Johnny Depp sitting down and writing a statement about losing this trial before it's over. I can see him writing one about winning.
There were statements so thoughtful. I mean, that was a lot packed into a few paragraphs for both sides. So it did, I think, took time.
Absolutely.
Did they do it, or did their PR teams do it? Because they both have PR teams. We know that. They could have been the ones writing it. And Vinny, I'm fascinated now, and I hope we can pull up Amber Heard's statement again. Your thought of, wait a minute, did she say anything in that statement that she shouldn't have said? Because again, she's looking at defamation has been proved against her. I mean, that's a big thing if she said things she shouldn't have yet again.
Yeah, I personally, if I'm I stay away from it with a 10-foot pole. I don't mention the substance of any of it, because you look again at that op-ed. It wasn't like classic defamation, like you are a wife beater. That's not what it was. It was much different. Okay, the disappointment I feel today is beyond word. Oh, it's gone.
Let's go
I'm
to the
even more
first one.
disappointed with what this verdict means for other women. It is a setback. It sets back the clock when women who spoke up talk about other women good. It sets back the idea that violence against women is to be taken seriously. I think that's a safe statement there. That part of it, I think, is safe. Let's see. I believe Johnny's attorney succeeded in getting the jury to overlook the key issue of freedom of speech and ignore evidence that was so conclusive that we won in the UK. That's a little dangerous. That's a little dangerous. Ignore evidence that was so conclusive.
That's what
that's
what stood out to me, Vinny. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sadder that I seem to have lost a right I thought I had as an American to speak freely and openly. That you're probably okay with.
Let's go back to the first screen.
Talking about ignoring evidence.
Yeah, the first screen, though, I think, let's see if we can pull that back up, Vinny, because that's where I thought maybe it stood out to you, that the mountain of evidence still was not enough to stand up to the disproportionate power, influence, and sway of my ex-husband, which was really the same
That's dangerous.
content as some of the op-ed, don't you think?
Absolutely. I cannot, as I'm looking at this the second time, I cannot believe they released that statement. Now, it may not be actionable. Johnny Depp may not take action on it, but lawyers, that's the first thing, right? Like, we're worried about it. I mean, if this was run past lawyers, I mean, how could you say that would be okay? That is kind of like the op-ed.
Right. Yeah.
She just lost that. $10 million.
That's what a case.
Just say nothing.
Yeah. It's a crazy case. So, Chanley, let's turn to the judge then did set, I believe she called it an award hearing on June 24th. And I was thinking about this, and I want you both to weigh in about, am I totally off base? But honestly, that is going to be to issue a letter with the award, and she has to change the punitive amount to meet the statutory amount allowed in Virginia. But theoretically, could these parties decide to settle for a lesser, different amount absent the jury award? Is that anything either of you think is on the table, or not at all? Chanley?
I couldn't hear all the question, Vinny, but is she asking about they awarded, of course, $5 million for punitive, and the judge has to modify that?
The judge has to modify it on the record, but the question is, like, you know, in any civil case, a civil case isn't over until all the appeals are done. So Amber Heard's team can appeal the amount.
Right.
So the question is, do you think these two sides could possibly, after the jury has spoken, get together and say, can we just end this now for a certain amount?
Punitive damages?
The whole package. Do you think these two sides could sit down in the same room?
No.
No? No?
I think anything's possible, but I think Johnny Depp's going to take it all.
He wants it all. He wants it all. So, and that's the other thing people should know, right? A civil case, the judge can adjust the judgment. She's going to adjust the punitive. She could adjust the compensatory as well. She could reduce that if she wants. Then on appeal, the amount could be reduced. It could be overturned. So a lot of times, like the judge said, rightfully so, the parties will sit down and negotiate and say, listen, let's not go through all this. Let's stop giving money to the lawyers and just settle for an amount. But I don't know if they have it in them. This is so personal, so emotional. I don't know if it happens in this case.
And that's what I love, that you're both there, because of course we're watching and we get all that emotion, but for you all to be there and firsthand be witnessing and seeing and hearing and the smell, taste, feel of a courtroom, as I like to say, I think it's volumes that you two think, nope, they probably aren't going to go there. They might not be able to have that conversation and work it out. Let's watch again together.
It would say something if Johnny Depp was open to it, though.
Right?
Yeah, if Johnny Depp was open to it, that could be, you know, monumental. If he could say, let's just settle this, let's move on. The jury's spoken, everybody knows. Amber, I will take the $8.35 million. We will settle for $2 million, and I will donate it to the Children's Hospital.
That and donate it. But, you know, there's been that argument, and it's been put out there that he wanted to be heard.
Not the ACLU. Not to the
Children's
ACLU,
Hospital. I
but to the
caught that.
Children's Hospital.
I did catch that, Vinny. I knew you were saying that with purpose because it would be nice, quite frankly, to see monies donated. That's been at the heart of this case, and amounts that were pledged by Amber Heard, she says, and not paid. So wouldn't that be quite the outcome? We want to watch again together the presser of Johnny Depp's team and what they had to say to the crowd just a few minutes ago.
Hi, everyone. Today's verdict confirms what we have said from the beginning, that the claims against Johnny Depp are defamatory and unsupported by any evidence. We are grateful, so grateful to the jury for their careful deliberation, to the judge and the court staff who have devoted an enormous amount of time and resources towards this case.
Our judicial system is predicated on each person's right to have his or her case heard, and we were honored, truly honored, to assist Mr. Depp in ensuring that his case was fairly considered throughout the trial. We are also most pleased that the trial has resonated for so many people in the public who value truth and justice. Now that the judge has reached its conclusive verdict, it's time to turn the page and look to the future. Thank you all so much, and thanks to the jury.
Thank you so much.
Vinny Politan, what are your final thoughts listening to that presser?
I can imagine what they're feeling right now, which is the exhaustion that kicks in, right? You've got all this adrenaline throughout the trial, closing arguments, you're at your peak, but then the anticipation of the verdict, then when it comes in, it's over. You are drained from head to toe. Both sides of the case, drained from head to toe. They need some R&R. They need some rest. I know everyone's going to be knocking on their door, calling for them. Everyone wants to hear from them. Everyone wants to speak to them. But I can imagine the level of just being tired and just needing a moment to gather yourself. But they should celebrate the moment. What I said in the beginning, this is an almost impossible mountain to climb in the United States of America, winning a defamation case when you are a public figure. They did it. They did it. And it had to do with Johnny Depp's testimony and incredible lawyering by his team.
And you can only imagine, to your point, the euphoria, and then once that goes away, the exhaustion. It is exhausting to even try a one-day case, much less a 6-week case of this caliber. All right, could you ask Chanley for her final thoughts as well?
Final thought. I can hear you now, Ashley. Finally, thank you so much for bearing with me with the technical difficulties out here. But yes, I echo what Vinny just said. Before this trial began, we were pouring through court documents. I was studying the law, and what an insurmountable burden it was to prove actual malice in this case. This could have gone any way. You don't know what a jury's thinking. And I had my eyes on them every day for hours, hopefully in a non-creepy way. And I was trying to garner what they were thinking, and they didn't give it away. A couple of them may have slipped, but they didn't give it away. A couple of them may have slipped, but they didn't give it away. And to think, you know what Vinny says, it goes to the preparation of the attorneys. Depp's team just really brought it inside that courtroom. You could tell it really, as an attorney, Vinny, was a pleasure to watch other attorneys in action who knew what they were doing. They did their homework, and it showed inside the courtroom.
All right. Thank you so much, Vinny Politan, Chanley Painter. We're going to continue to monitor developments out of Fairfax, Virginia. And up next, we will bring you more coverage and listen to the full verdict and have our legal experts break it down.
Today.
What a day. Court TV cameras have been inside the courtroom in the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard dual defamation case. 6 weeks of trial, 12 hours of deliberation, and then the jury came back with a verdict at 3 o'clock today. Well, they came back with a verdict and the judge had to send them back to deliberate on damages. Let's take you back into the courtroom and listen again to the verdict being read.
I understand we have a verdict. All right, are we ready for the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Just for everybody in the gallery, reminder that this is a court of law, and regardless of the verdict, I will not tolerate any outbursts whatsoever. Okay? Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Jamie?
In civil case number CL 2019-2911, Mr. Depp's claim against Ms. Heard. 1. As to the statement appearing in the online op-ed entitled, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. In the Washington Post online edition, quote, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change, end quote. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes. Has Mr. Depp proven by a greater weight of the evidence that, question, the statement was made or published by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false? Answer, yes. Question, the statement has a defamatory implication about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the defamatory implication was designed and intended by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, due to circumstances surrounding the publication of the statement, it conveyed a defamatory implication to someone who saw it other than Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven by clear and convincing evidence that Ms. Heard acted with actual malice? Answer, yes. 2, as to the statement appearing in the op-ed entitled, A Transformative Moment for Women in the Washington Post print edition and the online op-ed, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. In the Washington Post online edition. Quote, then 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out, end quote. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes. Has Mr. Depp proven by a greater weight of the evidence that, question, the statement was made or published by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false? Answer, yes. Question, the statement has a defamatory implication about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the defamatory implication was designed and intended by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, due to circumstances surrounding the publication of the statement, it conveyed a defamatory implication to someone who saw it other than Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven by clear and convincing evidence that Ms. Heard acted with actual malice? Answer, yes. 3, as to the statement appearing in the op-ed entitled, A Transformative Moment for Women in the Washington Post print edition and the online op-ed, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. In the Washington Post online edition. Quote, I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse, end quote. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes. Has Mr. Depp proven by a greater weight of the evidence that question, the statement was made or published by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false? Answer, yes. Question, the statement has a defamatory implication about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the defamatory implication was designed and intended by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, due to circumstances surrounding the publication of this statement, it conveyed a defamatory implication to someone who saw it other than Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven by clear and convincing evidence that Ms. Heard acted with actual malice? Answer, yes. As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award compensatory damages in the amount of $10 million. As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $5 million. In civil case number CL 2019-2911, Ms. Heard's claim against Mr. Depp. 1. As to this statement appearing in the April 8, 2020 online edition of the Daily Mail, quote, Amber Heard and her friends in the media use fake sexual violence allegations as both a sword and shield, depending on their needs. They have selected some of her sexual violence hoax facts as the sword, inflicting them on the public and Mr. Depp. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, no. 2. As to this statement appearing in the April 27, 2020 online edition of the Daily Mail, quote, quite simply, this was an ambush, a hoax. They set Mr. Depp up by calling the cops, but the first attempt did not do the trick. The officers came to the penthouses, thoroughly searched and interviewed, and left after seeing no damage to face or property. So Amber and her friends spilled a little wine and roughed the place up, got their story straight under the direction of a lawyer and publicist, and then placed a second call to 911, end quote. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes. Has Ms. Heard proven by a greater weight of the evidence that question, Mr. Waldman, while acting as an agent for Mr. Depp, made or published the statement? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was about Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was seen by someone other than Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false? Answer, yes. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven by clear and convincing evidence that the statement by Mr. Waldman was made with actual malice? Answer, yes. 3. As to this statement appearing in the April 27, 2020 online edition of the Daily Mail, quote, we've reached the beginning of the end of Ms. Heard's abuse hoax against Johnny Depp, end quote. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, no. As against John C. Depp II, we, the jury, award compensatory damages in the amount of $2 million. As against John C. Depp II, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $0.
Joining us now in San Francisco, California, criminal defense attorney Joseph Tully. Also here with me in studio, Julia Janae. A long day. I know you were anchoring when we heard the verdict was coming in, right. And you've been here and following this case and doing all the deep dives and in the anchor chair. What did you think when you heard this verdict read?
What a strange and confusing verdict. It is not clear cut. cut and dry, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to how this jury found, especially because they found for Amber Heard saying that Adam Wallman's statements about her abuse allegations that involved the police, when he said that that was a hoax, they didn't agree with Depp's team essentially on that statement, meaning that would suggest that that abuse allegation was in fact accurate. And that would mean that all of her statements in the op-ed piece would have been accurate because she would have been a victim of domestic violence, if only in that incident. So I'm still scratching my head on this one. Maybe they split the baby. Maybe they said, look, we believe she lied, but we also believe Depp's team lied in some instances as well. We're going to just give more money to him and some money to her, the same amount of money that she still owes to some of her charities.
Isn't that interesting? And so to your point, it looks like you and I did the same thing. I suspect all of us here at Court TV did the same thing as we've been covering this case, which is you get out the special verdict form and yes, 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 and what does it mean? And at the end of the day, you're right. So by Johnny Depp winning, of course, it means that they found she lied with malice about him in the op-ed and awarded him money. But then by finding one of the 3 statements for Amber Heard's counterclaim against Johnny Depp, found, well, he defamed her, so we're going to give her money too. Less money, Vinny pointed out. I think the difference is that based on the award and the changes based by the jury to the punitive damages by the judge, that it would be $8.35 million awarded to Johnny Depp. Do you think that Johnny Depp's going to see that money before I bring in our guest?
Yeah, you know, probably not. That's just the way it goes with civil law, civil litigation. I was a civil lawyer for many years, and I know that you can get these judgments, you can get these awards, but then there's the task of trying to recover those rewards. And the person that you're suing has to have some liquid funds for you to go after. They have to have some kind of assets, and that takes work as well if they don't easily turn it over to you. So we will see, we will track it and tell, and Johnny Depp may tell us if he doesn't see that money.
And a great point. It's a different thing to have an award versus actually collecting that award. Joseph Tully, thank you for joining and for your patience, because I'd like to hear, what was your reaction as you listened to this verdict?
My reaction was that a lot of times juries approach things as common sense. And what I saw here was that, you know, Johnny Depp was very charming and proved his case, basically. People liked him after this. People didn't like Amber Heard, but they also didn't feel that Johnny Depp was 100% in the right. And that's exactly what the jury verdicts reflect. It's a little bit of splitting the baby, but really it's a common sense approach to the case. Johnny, we like you. You were wronged by Amber Heard, but you weren't 100% in the right. And then I knew that the jury award in terms of money wouldn't be that high. It's a pittance. When you're asking for 50 million and you get 10 million, that's a jury saying, look, you rich Hollywood movie stars, you guys have enough money. We're going to give you something to back up your legal claim, but we're not going to make this case about money.
And to that point, I was surprised about 2 things and would love to hear your opinions. Number one, after the judge said, if you find defamation, then you have to go back, jury, and put the damages, compensatory and punitive. And it was less than 18 minutes. Less than 18 minutes from the time I watched the jury be excused by the judge and she was back on the bench, number one. And number two, not only that, the amount of the damages I was expecting, Joseph, I was expecting probably less. I thought they're going to come back with $1, some really small amount, because Hollywood, you assume they have lots of money. They may not, that's their business. But you think about that, and I'm a little surprised at the amounts, Joseph.
Yeah, I mean, I was more in line with your thinking that it wouldn't be, that Johnny Depp would come out more ahead, and that the money would be greatly less than what they're asking. And I think the jury just said, well, when you're losing out on, you know, $5 to $10, $20 million movie roles, you know, maybe he lost out on 100 million. I know he's only suing for 50 million, but we're going to give you 10 million. And again, so it's basically 20% of what he was asking for. So it's recognizing that he had significant loss, but that the jury wasn't too sympathetic to the money troubles of Hollywood movie stars.
All right, I know we need to take a commercial break. Just really quickly, 12 hours of deliberation. Was that a surprise to you that that's all it took for this verdict?
It was not a surprise that it took that for the verdict, but to your point, it was a surprise that that's all of the time that they took to figure out damages, and I'm really surprised that they didn't spend the 12 hours dealing with the damages, because to me, that was the most complicated part of this case.
All right, Julia and Joseph are going to stick around with us. More reaction to the Depp Heard verdict coming up, and you can also catch highlights of the Depp Heard trial right here on Court TV and on our YouTube channel. All the pivotal moments that you may have missed are posted there. We'll be right back on the other side of a very short break.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what I need you to do, I need to give the forms back to you. When you find for a defamatory statement, one or more, you need to fill out the compensatory damages. It has to be at least $1 for compensatory damages and up to whatever you feel the damages should be. And for punitive damages, you can put a 0 there, or you can fill out that as well, but I'd need those lines filled out, okay? All right, so if I can have you retire back to the deliberation room and do that for me, okay?
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Judge Ashley Wilcott. Of course, honored to be with you this Wednesday afternoon. Big news. A verdict has been reached in the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard dual defamation trial. Now, we were just listening to the judge, a little bit of a wow moment, because everyone came into the courtroom for a 3 p.m. verdict that the court was going to have read. And when the judge looked at the form of the verdict, which every judge does when a verdict has come back from a jury, and looked at the form, she had to have the attorneys approach. After they sat down, you just heard what she had to say. She had to say, okay, jury, if you found one or at least one defamatory statement, you also have to fill out the damages portion of the verdict form, and you have to determine the amount. She's then sent them back to do that. A couple of things that might be wow moments, and I'm grateful to still have with me Julia Janae, Court TV anchor this week here in studio. Also with us, Joseph Tully in California. Thank you both for a continuing conversation, because Julia, you and I were talking off air about the fact that it was definitely less than 18 minutes that it took for this jury to determine damages after the judge sent them back. And it was actually less than that, but kind of door to door was a total of 18 minutes. And they came back with, let's talk about some seemingly arbitrary random numbers. They awarded compensatory damages to Johnny Depp of $10 million, the punitive damages of $5 million. Of course, that has to be knocked down to $350 by the court, given the guidelines in Virginia and what the law allows for punitive damages. But then for Amber Heard, they said you get $2 million compensatory damages. What stands out to you? Because I've never seen it happen this way.
Never seen it happen that fast, and we'll never know unless we get to talk to these jurors, which we know from our team on the ground. They declined to be interviewed today, but to understand, did they go back there and flip a coin? Did they just throw out a number? Did the foreperson make a recommendation and everyone just say, yes, we need to get this done, we want to go home? This was towards the end of the day, so to me, I'm still dumbfounded that they didn't put damages and then didn't come back with a very low number, because when I saw the blank, I wondered whether they were going to come back with 0 just because they found for defamation but decided that your career was not hurt by this op-ed.
That's exactly, and the judge even said to them, for the compensatory, it has to be $1 up to whatever you decide. Punitive, you can say 0, and yet this is what they came back with. What were your thoughts about this amount and the amount of time it took, Joseph, for them to say this amount?
I concur with both of you. I was surprised that the money damages was decided so quickly. I think that the amount of time that it took for them to reach a unanimous verdict was right about what I was expecting. However, for them to all go back and all agree on the money damages, I thought was pretty quick. And again, I just think that in terms of the $10 million to Johnny Depp and then the $5 million, they clearly favored his side, but not completely. They basically are saying to both of these two people, listen, knock it off, don't be mean to each other.
And you know what I wonder, because they had the verdict form that's very clear on yes, yes, yes. If you have all 7 yeses, the final page, but I can hold it up. It says you complete questions 4 and 5 only if you answered yes, which they did. And that, Julia, is the line where they have to put the compensatory damages and punitive damages. I almost wonder if they'd already agreed to numbers, if they've already reached a unanimous decision as to numbers, but just neglected to write it in.
Just
because
didn't write it down.
Right, that could be something that happened. It could be they knew what numbers, they didn't write it down. Oops, they go back and say, oh yeah, it was these, let's go ahead and do this. Let's listen before we talk a little bit more about it to what was said about damages, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts.
As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award compensatory damages in the amount of $10 million. As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $5 million. As against John C. Depp II, we, the jury, award compensatory damages in the amount of $2 million. As against John C. Depp II, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $0.
And again, the clerk reading the jury award, which we knew that person would be reading. What were your thoughts? I think you were going to add something on.
Well, it was to your point that maybe they had this before, because we only got one question from this jury, but they seem to be a very astute, detailed, meticulous jury in the way that they framed their question, in the length of time that they took to go over all of this. So I just imagine they were back there with their calculators and writing down, adding and subtracting and going back over the testimony to determine exactly what those damages were. And it does seem that these numbers aren't completely arbitrary. They have an amount, half for punitive, 10 million for compensatory. It seems like there was some thought put into it. I can't imagine that it only took them 16 minutes to come up with these numbers.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, because that would be hard to do in that limited amount of time, I think. The other piece of this is, of course, you already mentioned, and I agree with you, that we don't know that they're ever going to see this money, because the award doesn't mean you hand over a check for that amount, but rather collecting that money can be its own civil litigation in some cases to figure all that out. But the other part of this is there going to be an appeal? Let me start with you, Joshua. Look into that crystal ball that I love to ask you to look into. Do you think that Amber Heard's team is going to appeal this verdict?
I do. And the first thing that I could think of off the top of my head is that they're going to say that the jury verdicts are inconsistent. They're going to say that, well, you know, Amber Heard won one thing, therefore there's some legitimacy to her claim that she was abused. And if we know from closing argument that if she was right about abuse in even one area, emotional abuse, physical abuse, even one time, then she would win everything. So I think if I was working on her side of the fence, I would call up Johnny Depp's lawyers and I would say, hey, listen, we're going to file an appeal. We're going to keep this tied up. We could settle this right now and make it, for a lot less money. And maybe at this point, go into damage control and try to make your client come out better in the public eye.
And Julie, I'm going to cheat a little because I know you have experience with civil lawsuits. Do you think Amber Heard should appeal?
Good question. I think if her lawyers are looking at this, they will say yes. They preserved the record on some important things, particularly a text message about Amber being kicked by Johnny Depp by his personal assistant, and they made sure to get that on the record. So that sounded like them already planning on an appeal if it was needed. But Amber Heard, in her position as a public figure, the hit that this has already caused for her career, she's acknowledged that because of the damages that she requested in this case. I think it's possible that this could create more bad publicity for her, and she would have to make that determination if she wants to subject herself to this, but she certainly could have the reasons to appeal and could be successful.
Sure, some legal reasons, absolutely. But we think about if she were to appeal, maybe it's because she doesn't have $8.35 million to pay Johnny Depp. But on the other hand, you have to be able to pay the legal fees to do that. So certainly, as soon as we know here at Court TV, we will let you know. We're going to continue to monitor developments out of Fairfax, Virginia. But coming up, what will Amber Heard's career look like going forward? We'll compare testimony from the trial to where we are today. Stay with us.
Is limited time offer.
In civil case number CL 2019-2911, Mr. Depp's claim against Ms. Heard. 1. As to the statement appearing in the online op-ed entitled, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. In the Washington Post online edition, quote, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change, end quote. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes.
Now that Amber Heard has lost the defamation trial against Johnny Depp, what are the career implications of this trial? Johnny Depp was certainly a household name before this case, but Amber Heard was far less known. So before we project her future, let's look back at her career before this trial.
I'm with you until the end.
Hard road. Now that's a hell of a ride.
Just so you know, I don't pick up hitchhikers.
I didn't have my thumb out.
Amber Heard's youth and beauty made her a rising star in Hollywood. Even Johnny Depp saw her potential and cast her as his female lead in The Rum Diary, the movie that brought them together.
Beth, you scream before I do.
But she says her career as an actor was also a source of friction in the marriage.
He found something that had been sent to me to consider auditioning for, and he blew up at me because he didn't know about that audition that I hadn't done yet, that I had been hiding it, and was furious at me.
Before Heard met Depp, she had a small part in Machete Kills, a Robert Rodriguez film.
You're gonna make me kill a blind chick? Pretty sure they're gonna take my crown for that.
And she played opposite Seth Rogen in Pineapple Express.
Fine.
Fine?
Don't come. I don't care.
You can really see her career starting to make waves, and after that she starred in the 2009 film Zombieland, Pineapple Express, and Zombieland. These sort of like cult films that have cult-like followings from filmmakers like Seth Rogen, who have sort of huge fan bases. She was carving out a lane for herself.
But her choice of films, she said, came under intense scrutiny after she became involved with Depp.
Every time I got a script, it was what kind of, how I was dressing, what kind of behavior I'd have, how did I have a sex scene? Then I started minimizing the kinds of kissing scenes that I had, and eventually I had to change the wardrobe that I could have in the movie. I found myself pushing as many scripts off my desk as I could.
Heard testified Depp discouraged her from taking certain roles, and the roles she did take became fodder for fights.
He was mad at me for taking the job with James Franco. He hated James Franco and was already accusing me of kind of secretly having a thing with him in my past since we had done Pineapple Express together.
Their argument over James Franco, she says, led to a physical assault.
My back was turned to him, and I feel this boot in my back. He just kicked me.
Heard's role in London Fields was also the subject of strife.
That role was a very difficult role. I mean, every time, every scene that involved sexuality or romance was like, I'd look at that on the page and it felt like I'd feel my gut tighten because I knew it was going to be an issue.
It's not clear if Depp's influence was at work, but producers of London Fields sued Heard for breach of contract when she allegedly refused to do nude scenes that they say she signed on for. The case was eventually settled, but Depp in his testimony described how he helped Heard avoid a nude scene in their film together.
If she took her shirt off and she had a red bra on and a skirt, then if she had a red bra in her hand, when the crowd surged in on her, all she had to do was lift the red bra up out of the crowd, and there's no nudity.
Amber Heard's film career will be tested with Aquaman 2, in which she reprises her role of Mera. A petition calling for her removal from the blockbuster sequel has reached nearly 4 million signatures, and reports that Warner Brothers has reduced her screen time in the movie could spell trouble for the future of her career, says Zach Intom, a Business Insider.
If there is a significant cut in her screen time, I think that tells us what Hollywood thinks they can make out of Amber Heard. That also is not a terrible thing for her. If she's willing to not work in Hollywood, I think that could be a positive for her, because she could work the independent circuit, she could work Europe, and sort of the blacklisting from Hollywood could be a narrative that her career jumps up off again.
Still with us, Court TV's Julia Janae and criminal defense attorney Joseph Tully. Julia, let me start with you. What do you think is next for Amber Heard in terms of her career following this verdict?
You know, she's still an ambassador for the ACLU. I think she will continue to speak out for victims of domestic abuse. There may be organizations that continue to get behind her, because she is still, even in the statement that we saw from her team, still going to not back down from those same statements that she made in that problematic op-ed piece.
And I want to thank you. That was your package. I know that we just watched together. But Joseph Tully, will the ACLU drop Amber Heard now after this kind of verdict? Is she even going to have any opportunity with the ACLU, do you think?
Boy, I mean, if there's an organization that should support an underdog, it is the ACLU. And I would say that Ms. Heard's best posture at this point is to spin, as the gentleman was saying during the interlude to this, spin it into sort of an underdog story that, hey, you know, I got the short end of the stick. I do represent domestic violence. It is a serious topic. We can't forget about that. So I would flip a coin on that. I don't know what the ACLU is going to do, but I would imagine that they will reduce her role and not put her front and center as they were doing before.
And what do you think will happen with Amber Heard's career in general?
I think that, you know, I agree with the premise that she should, you know, kind of drop out of Hollywood and wear it as a badge of honor and seek independent films and foreign films and that kind of thing. She didn't lose everything. You know, Johnny Depp won 10 million, she won 2 million. So, I mean, it's a 80-20% split, and a lot of people will root for the underdog now, and a lot of people will stay by her side, because the narrative of a victim, a female victim in an abusive relationship, is a very powerful narrative.
And, you know, I think we can all admit there are a lot of people in Hollywood who have done some pretty horrific things, allegedly, and even in criminal court, and this happens. All right, so thank you, Julia Janae, Joseph Tully, for being with us today. I also want to thank all of you at home for joining us. Michael Ayala is going to take it from here. You will not miss a thing here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Omaha Steaks.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Just over an hour ago, folks, the moment we've all been waiting for about 6 weeks. After about 12 hours of deliberations, the verdicts are in the Depp v. Heard